Shazam!
We just wanted to give a big shout out to our newest Patreons, the Hamness family and Scott Troutman. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Check out dialpodcast.com for more information on our Patreon. Enjoy the podcast.
Shut up and sit down.
Go outside. See those kids? They're having the time of their lives riding their bikes. They know what's up.
I ride my bike. I ride my bike all around. Yes, I do.
Your addiction gets worse. You spend less time at work doing work and more time looking at bikes.
I ride by all my friends and I wave hello.
You are listening to the 117th installment of the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Contrary to popular belief, owning a bike doesn't make you a cyclist. You have to ride it as well.
Oh, my bike is very good.
Become obsessed with your bike. Fixate over specs, head angles, and weird things like tire
So I
drops.
better have my helmet on.
It's time to ride your brand new bike.
It's so much fun just pedaling up and down. Yeah.
One day you see a press release for a brand new bike. It's like yours, but 15% lighter, 35% stiffer, and it's red.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During, and I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance right here in studio.
In studio.
In studio.
In studio.
Cool.
I've got, I tried to 70s feather the mustache
Yeah.
today.
That-
It looks a little softer today.
it looks
It's-
feathered.
Yeah.
It's a little more feathery and a little more ridiculous.
That's for the ladies.
This has been Mustache Talk with Dr. Lance Hepler.
Over the weekend, his mustache had a mustache. Did you guys happen to see that picture?
I had double curls.
Oh, yeah.
I had a curl under my nostrils and then a curl. Yeah. Let's move on.
Where is it?
Good
Where is
time.
it growing the thickest right now? I
It's
feel like
right-
right below the nose.
It's right below the nose.
Yeah.
It's so thick.
Are you a nose hair guy? Do you grow solid
Oh, yes.
nose
I have to trim my nose hairs constantly.
hair? Okay.
Just like let him
Could you let
intertwine
it
in
go?
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you let it go and combine into one massive
Nose dreads.
No, it's
Nose dreads.
it's ridiculous.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
To his right, Evan Price.
So I'm drinking a Red Bull. Matt
boy.
is drinking. Ooh, we're gonna play Guess What's In.
Yeah, this is easy.
Ooh, okay, coffee. Matt's got coffee.
Caffeine free.
Yes. Caffeine
Hidden
free
River
right now?
Roasters.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew
Is that predictable or what?
Jake is drinking his own homemade coffee right now.
It's empty. Yep.
It is empty. And Lance is drinking water because he's the least exciting person here. So,
I got
yeah.
purified water.
Lance, we're going to have to let you go from the podcast if you can't, come up with an interesting story from time to time.
Kirkland's not going to be
Sorry.
happy with this either.
I mean,
none of us are drinking from our
You're,
sponsor.
you're very boring with your adventure van.
I've
and
got nothing
Yeah.
to offer. I'm sorry.
Kirkland's going to pull that check that they put in the mail that never got to us.
Yeah, that's still coming, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it's still in the mail.
It's always going to be in the mail.
And sitting next to Evan Price, Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How you guys doing?
Okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You look good. You do. Yeah. It's hard to take my eyes off the stash, but you look good. You're looking good.
There's
Don't look
lots
at it.
of things
Don't
wrong
look at
with
it.
this picture.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it. Don't look directly into the stash.
All right, let's do some backpedaling. Matt, you want to backpedal for us?
Sure, I can keep it short. I should just give my time to Lance.
Hi. You have plenty of things to talk about.
Nope.
Okay.
I got
I got a story for you.
You've been riding your bicycle. I know that.
I've ridden the bike a couple times.
Yeah.
I did some open water swimming, which was really cool. I've been going out there a little bit more frequently, which was
Nice.
really nice.
You're going over to Fallen Leaf, right?
Yeah, Fallen Leaf is my spot. It's my go-to spot, and
It's a little sanctuary.
yep, it's been good. It's been great. I'm getting some, and I've been running a little bit each day, but the Achilles is killing me.
It is.
Yeah, so
Ooh,
I'm just in the
Achilles jokes.
I'm looking for I got Achilles jokes to go for days. I'm gonna be in the market for a PT, just looking for one. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find one, but
I've got a pretty average one I can sell to you. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't expect too much. But yeah,
no expectations are low. So
Lance just cracked open a mojito.
LaCroix. Mojito.
The Croy.
what are you sipping on over there?
It's
it's a cola.
Cubano cola flavored LaCroix.
Wow.
Does it actually taste like a Coke?
Yeah, it tastes like a mojito.
That's terrible, actually. But I'm gonna drink the whole thing.
Yeah, you will.
'Cause I like the sparkling.
So like the
Do you know what's
sparkly
not disgusting? The blueberry blue edition from Red Bull.
blue edition.
Yes. Not the
Lance had one of
not
those on
cola
one of our
mojito.
rides a couple weekends ago.
I did.
Oh,
He's like, here, try
you had a
this.
Red
And I'm
Bull?
like, reluctantly took it. I'm like, yep.
Can
Tastes
you
like
slowly
chemicals.
start transferring over to Red Bull?
Nah, whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. That sounds like a resounding yes to me.
Sorry, we overtook your.
I'm done.
Matt was done.
Yeah, that was over
There
an hour
has to
ago.
be. What was the coolest thing that Ethan did this week?
He rode with me yesterday for 3 miles or something like that. It was pretty, it was good. Snagged some GoPro footage. He ran with his mom. He's doing well. He's exercising more than
Yeah.
I am, more than Dad. So
How's Dash doing?
mean as hell.
Really?
Yeah, my 5-year-old.
No way.
got-
Dash.
he's-
Every single time I go over there, for one, Cassie loves him. He's the
he is.
greatest. But as soon as we leave, he's terrible.
No, I mean he's just got an attitude. It's
Got the 5-year-old attitude.
he's gonna be. So we did this thing called I just decided that we're gonna have a memorial mile in our cul-de-sac where you run around the cul-de-sac and it's
For a mile.
16 laps to the mile.
Oh my gosh.
And so we got the neighborhoods to do it, the kids to do it, and Kristen and I have collected medals over the years,
Yeah.
right? So we have tons, and we're just like, you do the memorial mile, you get a medal.
That's
so
a
we
great way to give away medals.
We brought all these medals out, and all these kids from the neighborhood were running laps around. And so Kristen and I, of course, did it also.
Mm-hmm.
But Dash would he'd do the mile, and then he would just keep going, and then
Your 5-year-old ran more than a mile.
oh yeah, and then
Oh
in the evening, he was like running again. And you'd be like, that's the finish line right there. And he'd be like, I'm going to keep going. Like, he was just living it up. So,
Says, I think Ethan's
see.
going to be a great 800-mile runner.
Something's brewing
Dash
there.
is going to do ultras one day.
Ultra.
Yeah, for sure.
we'll find out.
Love it.
Stay
Have to
tuned.
change
the
his name.
podcast. Dash.
Yeah.
Dash to like
Yeah.
endurance or something like that.
Gotta
Yeah,
switch
we'll
the
change his
names.
name.
Gotta switch the names.
It's no big deal.
Like,
We'll
ooh, I'm
change his
sorry,
name.
Dash. You got to be a sprinter. We named you for a reason here.
Yeah, it'll be on. We'll record it on the podcast. We'll talk about it
Yes.
when they get a little older.
All right.
I think when he's 6, we can bring him on.
I think last time
Age.
we had a little podcast, you were sitting on 1,999.
Oh,
cross
yes.
over that 2,000 barrier
Have you
mark.
not? How do you not check that on a 5-minute
I
basis?
did that. Yeah, it is kind of addicting, right?
Yeah.
Which is a little dangerous, right?
I remember when you were close to 1,000. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
2,058
Wow.
Oh,
subscribers.
that's a
Look
big
at
bump.
that. You got 59 subscribers in the last
week.
week. That's fantastic.
At this rate, you're going to be a professional YouTuber by the year 2035.
Yeah, just a couple decades from now.
Just keep grinding. Just keep grinding.
Grinded.
Evan, backpedal, man.
I did not race this last week, unless you count virtual racing, which I am now getting berated for by our good friend David Goodman on every single ride we do together.
He's also berating you. Thank you, David.
David is a
he's the
train.
best.
He's a trainer road type of guy, so he's very specific on. He doesn't understand the social aspect of Zwift or the need for that once a week race.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was Friday, raced Zwift for a longer race, which was like an hour, which was a terrible idea. Racing that long in the saddle, and Zwift's got this weird, like, the start of every Zwift race. For anybody listening to this who has done a Zwift race, the start of those races is always like a 5-minute all-out effort.
Yeah.
For whatever, it simulates like the worst crit you've ever raced. It's like every single race is a miserable crit. And
You have to be pushing like 800
it's
watts
great.
at the bell just to stay with
just
the
to be
group.
in the group. You got to be like hammering from the gun. So I did the New York course, which is exactly the type of course I would get dropped on in real life, where it's just like steady flat, then super sharp, short climbs, and then like one like 2-3 minute power climb. So just the exact thing I'm terrible at. So, I stay with the lead group, we hit the power climb. I decide to attack. I'm like, this is a good idea. 5 minutes into this thing, let's go and put in the move for the 22-mile race, and then get caught after trying to break away, and then get blown up, and basically have to solo TT the entire hour after that because I'm stuck in between the peloton and the lead group, and I'm not just going to soft pedal back to the peloton. So that was basically Friday, which I think I'm kind of getting tired of the virtual racing at this point. I can't even watch virtual races anymore. It's getting old.
Can't even watch it. 'Cause,
Can't
that's-
even watch virtual
Are you
racing
sure?
anymore.
It's to really keep you on the edge of your seat there when
I'll
you're
probably
watching someone else play a video
I'll
game.
probably still watch it on Wednesday, but the funny thing is I never played video games as a kid, so maybe I'm just like reliving this thing that I missed as a child.
Well, now it is like the kids literally watch other other people play
They do.
video games.
Oh,
It's
I
like,
can
oh,
relate
this
to them.
Twitch.
this person's playing Fortnite. Better tune into that.
What is Twitch?
Twitch is. Oh, you need to know this, Evan. It's a
Okay.
it's a YouTube streaming piece. It's kind of like YouTube, but it's
Gotcha.
streaming video games. It's not specific to video games, but most like that's their dominant
okay.
market.
Yeah.
It's streaming anything, and people come in and they comment and blah blah.
Is
blah.
this like
but
the
it's-
ninja guy?
Yeah,
Is
exactly.
he on there? Okay,
exactly.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of know what that is.
And
Yeah.
I think that they got. I don't want to make a mistake on air here, but they got purchased. I think for like 1.2 billion or something like that. I mean, they got to be a big company.
1.2.
I-
Oh my gosh.
I
That's
don't
like
know.
NFL numbers.
I know they got
That's crazy.
It got popular really quick, and
Yeah.
it's tricky because there's other streaming services too, like YouTube. But whatever.
So Swift is ready to get purchased for $1.2 billion is what you're saying. Ballpark.
No.
No,
Maybe 1.2 million.
there you go.
There you go. Okay. So anyway, that was Friday. Saturday, I got to go on an awesome group ride with Dustin and David. So it was just the three of us, which is basically group rides these days, or three or less, which is fun. But we did a century, kind of a weird century. We went out to Gibson, which is a really beautiful climb. And is Gibson technically in Washougal, or is it still in Camas?
It's Washougal.
Washougal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's in Washougal. It was like that nice, like Pacific Northwest, like misty rain kind of morning, and then it dried out, and then it got a little sunny, then it misted again. But it was like that really nice where it kind of dries you, then it wets you just a little bit, so you cool down, then it dries you. So it was a nice day. And then we go drop Dustin off. Me and David go down to do the bridge ride in Portland right after that, and then we come back up, and we're going out to Vancouver Lake to do some TT efforts to end the day. And we run into, coming the other way on Vancouver Lake, Mr. Jake Von During hammering away, and I am not going to ruin his back pedal here.
I meant to print out something.
But he is pushing hard the other way, and Lance is back there as well. We yell at Lance to wait for us. They did not. So we basically just went out there and did TT efforts. I'm basically road. Just Vancouver Lake's a super, super flat area, so it's pretty nice to put in good long efforts in low traffic area.
I'm just gonna pretend that I have a printout in front of me here.
Okay, good.
That makes more sense, right?
We can look at the stats.
Let me see what document I have in front of me here, guys. Pull it up. Let me pull it up.
This is awesome.
Let me pull up my folders of documentation.
This is the nice thing about phones, right?
Yep.
And then, that was, let me think, Sunday, trained more. Swam in Vancouver Lake with some of the juniors, which was great. And they're swimming fast, and I'm not, which is wonderful to see. And then I got cracked in the forehead with a lamp.
You okay?
Yeah.
I see it now.
Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
it's kind of like a
notice it
Harry
before.
Potter scar is what it looks like. Yeah.
I didn't notice it before, so it's
Just
not that
joking.
bad.
Yeah, I put some makeup over it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why I did not put makeup over it. But yeah.
Cassie chucked at you, right?
Yeah. Cassie
Got a little
threw a
unruly.
lamp at my head. She was getting frustrated with me over the weekend, just chucked a lamp at my forehead. But
Get off your bike and pay attention to me.
exactly, yes. But yeah, that was basically it.
Love it.
Cool.
Yeah, that was all.
Awesome. Mr. Hep
Mr. Hep.
or Dr. Hep.
Yeah.
You still prefer that doctor? I mean, you earned that. Is that a for life thing?
I think it's funny now because, well, I always thought it was funny. I've never been like hung up on the title of doctor. I'm fine with people calling me Lance, even when I was a doctor for 20 years. Is a dentist really a doctor? I don't know. I mean, yeah, it took a lot to get that title.
Isn't
and
there
I earned it.
Isn't there a Santa Claus joke about that? But the guy's a psychiatrist. Isn't it? There's in the movie Santa Claus, they talk about that. The guy's a psychiatrist and wants to go by doctor.
By doctor. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so yeah, I just call myself Dr. Hep. That's my Instagram handle.
Follow him, people.
It's at Dr. Hep because I think it's funny.
So Sully, Dr. Sully.
Dr. Sully, that's what I should change.
Yeah, no longer Dr. Hep.
Ridiculous mustache. I had a great week. We did have some rain this last week, so I only rode 4 times. So
400 miles.
Evan, take his temperature real quick. See if he's all right.
So you're at 400 miles?
No, it was like 235 miles. I rode 4 times.
That's not good.
But 3 of those times were with Mr. Jake Von During. We rode together a lot this week.
I think we rode something like 120 miles or something like that together.
It
this
was
week?
more than that because
I saw
the
well,
ride.
you rode more. I mean,
I did one ride alone, which was 62 miles. The rest was 234. So we rode like 170 miles together.
oh wow.
Yeah.
You guys did something through some puddles. I saw some pictures posted.
We went on a gravel ride one day.
That's what you guys like to do.
Yeah, headed out to Washougal Duke Dike area. Duke.
The Duke.
Mr. Duke to you.
And there's an elevated pathway through a swampy area.
Where is that? I didn't.
It's right between Camas and Washougal.
3rd Street entrance to Lacamas Park is? Right across the street. If you follow that down, it'll take you down to that little walkway.
I just haven't ever done that little section. I've
it's fun
I've done the
there.
Dike Trail, and I've done obviously all the stuff behind the Round Lake, but.
Yeah, so there's a walkway that's been built down there through the swampy area, and it was flooded this week because our water levels are really high because it's spring and we had some rain this week, and we hit the flooded trail and we just rode through it anyway.
At first glance, looking at it, like, oh, that's just a couple inches deep, and then Lance was behind me laughing his butt off.
I pulled out my phone and was videoing.
And I'm looking at this thing going, how can I ride through this without getting my feet all wet? So, you can do like little quarter crank turns and like keep your feet up high so that they're not like going down to the bottom of the stroke. That wasn't working. No. So we ended up just riding through it. And like every pedal stroke, your foot was like fully submerged.
It was like a 1.5 feet deep.
Yeah. Lance, the picture shows you doing like this cowboy dance, like with your legs kicked up. And
it was on the way back.
I was like that with the stash equals... I don't know what it equals.
YouTube gold.
We were just having fun. Jake had his GoPro on behind me, and when we came back, I hit it with a little speed and
threw his feet up in the air. Did a nice parting of the sea there. Did his best Moses impersonation there.
We were just having some fun.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
But yeah, coincidentally, Jake and I get together and we end up hammering some different sections, even if we don't have plans to hammer some sections. And one of the days we were headed out to Vancouver Lake, and Matt has a segment out there.
It's the most important segment of all time.
It is the most sought after segment there, outside of the Jack Frost time trial, which is
only for the past week.
Yeah,
since we talked about it on the
podcast.
Was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So 2 weeks ago, it's been the most coveted
segment. It's a 16-mile segment, 8 miles out, 8 miles back.
Okay. What's nice about it is it's out and back, and so either way, like the wind is not going to play a role.
Right. Yeah.
If it's windy, you're going to have it on your back and then in front of you.
So Jake and I were riding out there, and we're heading out there, and we're talking about how, we should get like 3 or 4 guys together and like just cyclists, not triathletes, just cyclists.
Do I get to be?
We're all on road bikes.
Are you sensing some?
I'm sensing some animosity here.
There's a little bit. There's a lot of it.
There's more. There's more to come in the future.
Oh, I know. Oh boy. There's been a lot of Strava title like jabbing lately. I really shouldn't have phrased that very first one the way that I did. Hindsight being 2020.
So Jake and I talked about doing this with like 3 or 4 other guys, and we get out there and we like just started going hard, and it's a 38-minute segment. We're what were we, like 16 minutes into it, and we were hammering, and we hit the turnaround 2 minutes ahead.
2 minutes and 1 second.
Whoa.
2 minutes up.
How was the wind? Because
there was really no wind.
much,
It was just a very mild breeze, maybe like a mile to an hour.
Yeah.
It really was
That's what you want, I think.
It was a dead wind day.
Yeah. But it was a little wet out there.
Yeah.
So I mean that's going to slow you down a touch.
And the turns.
Turns, yep.
And granted, I took a couple of pulls. Jake did all the work.
Was this like when we hit?
Wait a minute.
What was it?
You did half the work.
I did half the work.
I was solo out there.
Yes, you were solo.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about what gear I was wearing.
Yeah.
It's not about the gear. It's not. I think there's a book. It's not about the bike.
No, it's not. Thank you. I'm pretty sure another guy named Lance said that once. Not this Lance.
You're probably shaved from head to toe and on a whatever.
And I did it solo, and with someone's help, it's probably about 22 seconds difference, I'd say.
I was gonna say 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Actually, is the
maybe
difference,
23
So
seconds.
on the way back, we're hammering, and the time is just it's coming down. It's going to
Well, I knew
140.
that when Matt was out there, the time of year that he was out there, I was guesstimating he had a nice little
He
tailwind.
had a little bit of tailwind coming back.
Yeah.
And we did not, and we were losing time the whole way back. So we started pushing a little bit harder. I took one like mile-long pull to give Jake a little bit of break, and then as soon as he went around, I just blew to pieces. And then
You still
Jake
probably
train.
did well. I'm guessing.
what's that?
I'm sure you still did well.
I was like a minute slower than my time from just
when we did
couple
it the
weeks
other day?
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
So
hard.
You looked really tired when we saw you because it was at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
we saw,
And I'm like-
we saw you guys towards the end of it.
and I was still ahead of Matt's time, and so I was
Yeah.
thinking, okay, I can still beat Matt's time, at least get second behind Jake. So I'm hammering, and then I flatted.
yeah. So just
Did you?
I hit something. I actually tubeless tires. I didn't actually have to stop.
Yeah.
But I like lost all motivation. But
Yeah.
Jake pulled it off.
hammered the whole way.
He did the whole
He was
thing.
staying and is kind of like putting the hands on the top sort of tube area, kind of tucking in.
Yeah, trying to stay low.
Didn't we have this big discussion before Jack Frost where it was like, what is
Right.
the most aero or road bike position to
road
be in?
bike arrow
Yeah.
Yeah.
position,
Not the drops. A lot of people think it's the drops, not
Yeah.
the drops.
I still think that there's some question marks on that.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, I think it's if you can get narrow and get in your drops, it's still there's
Yeah.
still some benefit to getting low, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's
Anyway.
frontal area. Yeah.
Anyway, so
But yeah.
I took a swing.
It's a
at
long
it.
effort.
It was a long
That's
effort.
a long- like,
37
that is
minute
a
effort. You
long
averaged
way.
like 340 watts or something for it, didn't you?
Close to 350.
Oh, somewhere in there. I got to
Yeah.
go look that up. I did look at the power profile though, and I could see every time you took a pull, and I think there was 5 pulls
Maybe
in there,
5 of 'em, yeah.
something like that. And
yeah, we should just go ahead and subtract about 25 seconds off.
25 seconds.
hey, we said it's all good for you and Matt or you and Evan to go out there and take a stab at it.
We will.
There will be a very hard stab. there's
I'm gonna take you. It's gonna be.
there's going to be a stab.
Yeah, I'm gonna
was
take
just-
you for part of the way, and then I'm gonna be like, go.
I need you all out for 5 minutes.
It was
and
just
then we're
funny.
Sort
Totally.
of
Yeah,
catapult
something like
me
that.
through that. Yeah.
that we talked about making this plan to bring some other people in, and then we ended up just going for it,
Sure.
just the two
Yeah.
of us, and then we still got it.
Well,
It was a
these
little-
guys go and they take it from us, then we know that we've
We
got
should
what
we
gotta
should
do.
make that segment become like a thing that you got to do with only one other. Like it's got to be like little
One
twos.
other person.
Yeah, it's got to be little twos.
no, there's no rules like that. Obviously, if you can get it on a time trial bike, then
I'm just
whatever.
I'm just thinking back to when we've been in massive groups and hit that thing. If you had gone on that exact thing
Yeah.
with like 20 people in a group,
With
you
the
could
Peloton.
soar through that.
That's true.
Yeah.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody do that. No group rides past 4.
The Salvi Island shootout group or something like that. If they went out there, it would be
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's not
group
the
of
same.
50
Yeah.
guys hammering through there.
Do not. Hopefully, they don't listen to this podcast.
I'm sure some of them
I'd have to
do.
get really aero on a TT bike, super like
Well, you need to
thin.
you need to build your TT bike up
I know,
because
I
it's
do.
time.
I do. It is time actually.
gonna be time.
It is time.
been sitting in shambles for 6 months now.
I know.
Maybe even 7.
It
And
is
there's-
time to get it.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to do TT testing wise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
get on it.
That is, I've got 2 things that are happening this and next week, and then the fleet is going to be ready to have fun and no races. Our own races.
You can tell that Jake and I are itching for races because every time we got together, we ended up taking a KOM somewhere.
Yeah, they're just racing each other each
just
week.
just riding, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there was a segment yesterday that Lance is probably going, "What the hell is he doing?" I knew the segment. I didn't have it pulled up. I didn't have it starred.
Yeah.
But I'm looking down at the time. I'm like, I can remember doing this before, and I remember leading some people out, and we were going about this fast. And I'm like, my legs feel pretty good today. So I went ahead and just kept going hard. And I don't know, Lance is probably like, why are we doing this? Why are we going so hard?
no, I don't like riding on that road either. There's a lot of traffic,
Yeah, I
and so
generally
we
wanna
always
get
try
off
to
that,
do
yeah.
it quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like hanging on Jake's wheel, and then all of a sudden we take the turn where it's nice country road,
It's 199th.
and
going. Yeah,
and
down it
Jake
goes.
picked it up, and I'm like, oh, I guess we're going even more.
Yeah.
But Jake got the KOM on there on 2 different segments on there too, and I didn't take a single pull.
Contrary to what Strava would show
I
you on the
sat
flyby,
his
but
wheel
yeah.
the whole time.
That was
So,
fun.
Strava's
Yeah, some of
alive.
my fastest times are just sitting on Jake's wheels.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that works.
so.
That works sometimes when it's flat.
We had a
If it gets
good
too
time.
steep, I'm not worth much anymore. So.
I did like a 40-mile loop with Jake yesterday where we did that, and then my wife had come out. She rode 50 miles by herself.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Who rode the most yesterday? Which Hepler?
Yeah.
Well,
Is she?
Did she ride more than you?
Is
No,
she, how many
well-
did she put in for the week? Is she about 300?
she's close.
Did she put almost 300 miles in last
No.
week?
Yes.
Oh, God, okay.
Yes. No,
she
Evan.
rode-
Yes, this
Yes,
happened.
I
This
mean,
is it.
Whatever this guy did, she did a little bit more.
+1.
Yeah.
I think she did like 140 miles last week or something.
That's
That's a
which
solid
is
week,
amazing.
Brandy.
Yeah, I mean she did 50 all by herself. I rode fast with Jake, and then I found where she was, and I looped back out and found her and rode a second loop with her. So it was
Awesome.
a good week. Yeah, lots of fun.
Give her 1 year. She'll be racing 7 times a week, 8 times a week
Yeah,
again.
17 times.
17 times.
Matt, we will try not to steal any more of your.
They're all gone.
tail.
Jake has stolen the 2 that I coveted the most.
Do you have the KOM on Matt's favorite road?
No.
No.
Jake has
Can
that.
we
No,
get you?
No, I don't.
Oh, wait, Lance.
Tom
No.
took it from me.
No, Guy Van.
Oh,
is it Guy
Matt's,
Van?
Oh, Matt's favorite road. Okay,
So
sorry. I was thinking of the
we-
ladies and gentlemen of the
That
internet.
has to be the summer project. Is we have to go and get you on top of Matt's favorite road.
I don't know.
North
if
and
that's gonna
south.
be easy.
It's not.
Guy Van-
It's not going to be easy.
Guy Van crushed it by like 12 seconds. It's something stupid.
Yeah.
Like I was going to take
boy.
a stab at it, and I looked at it, and I'm like,
Brr.
no,
Nope.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Give it
No
time.
amount
Give it
of
time.
tail. We're going to find a crazy tail one day.
Yeah, there you go.
30
still need to
mile an hour
do
tail.
Lake. You still need to do Lake Road. We have so much stuff
That
to do.
is Lake Road is going to be such. I'm starting to realize how hard that effort is going to be.
Yeah, but you go hard with your TT bike. I think the
Yeah.
TT bike up that hill is still gonna have some value.
Yeah, I
So-
think it will. It's such
And
a
I'll
hard
lead you
effort.
out. You know,
This is a personal
Yeah.
question, Evan. How many KMs do you have
all of them.
here?
None. Oh no. I'm sure I have a couple.
You
random
sometimes
roads
just
still.
hit them when you're not thinking.
I'm
about
not sure
it.
if I have a K. I mean, I was going to hang my hat on Washington Large for a long time until Tonk
you
had to go ruin that. So
How do you find out how many KOMs you have?
That's a
You
good question.
go to your profile page, and there is a tab that says KOMs.
I think
I
you have to
wonder-
use the web browser.
I'm
though.
not sure
Use the
if I
web
have
browser.
any.
Yeah, it doesn't work on the mobile app.
Let's just move on.
Yeah.
We can come back to this later. Awesome. Lance, what else? Anything else?
I think that's probably it
Yeah.
for me.
Cool. Yep. My week wasn't very exciting. I had a little 5-day rest block, took 2 days off and 3 days of just like zone 1 stuff, pushing super low watts, kind of going through the motions, riding for just over an hour. But then Friday rolled around and we jumped on gravel bikes. Saturday rolled around, we jumped on road bikes
Yep.
and hammered a lot in the
Yep.
middle there. And then Sunday, yesterday was kind of like, I mean, not a fartlek approach, but it kind of felt that way after it was said and done. There was some efforts in there as well. So I'm feeling the love, but
We did take a few stabs at a few things yesterday.
yeah, but I'm so freaking tired from all this cross training. I'm telling you guys got to come over for my free cross training clinic. It's pretty stinking awesome.
That's okay. I'm busy getting hit in the head with lamps. So
This yard work stuff is legit. We'll take it out of you. But yeah, I just did a bunch of that. So anyway, not a very exciting week other than just going out and playing bikes with Lance. And yeah, that was fun. Looking forward to doing that again in the weeks to come. And
Looking forward to stealing more of Matt's KOMs. He's only got 1 or 2.
well, you know what, Matt? I don't think we're going to be able to take too many more of your KOMs. If you look at those out there at the lake, they go to the end of Frenchman's Bar, or that whole leg. And
Is
they-
there one
they
that I
put-
have that goes all the way to the end?
2.
There's a
At
couple
2?
of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they
We've
put up a-
been stalking both of
Yeah,
you. We
they
probably
put up
should
like a barrier and some gate, and it's not a county road anymore.
Too much information.
I know. I know.
I love the fact that road is closed and I have something.
Yep, you got it.
Lance and I were talking about how we could like use the Garmin as a baton and have one guy staged on the other side and
yeah.
pass it and just go
Oh, and chuck it over the other side.
go, 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 go.
Wait,
pass like a football.
Didn't the GCN guys do something like that? Like pass a Garmin in the middle of a
I
segment?
think they
Yeah.
did. I think they did. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a joke video. Where
Yeah,
they're
but whatever.
Like,
It's still
how to
funny.
get KOM, you chuck the
Yeah.
Throw it.
and throw it when you know you're close.
That'd be hilarious on a climb to be like, oh, I'm 2 seconds back, clip it off, and just chuck it the rest of the way.
Totally.
Awesome.
Got a good arm.
Cool. All right, so let's move on. Patreon update, you guys. We need like some
We need Patreon music.
like
Yeah, we
breaking
do.
news. We have a new Patreon.
No, Lance. No, it's not.
We have a new Patreon who has joined the ranks, Mr. Terry Hamness. So just want to say
Woo,
thank
Terry.
you to Terry.
I love Terry Hamness.
He's a good dude.
He is a good dude.
Yeah, he's just always like there helping out and good guy. Just kind of like a quiet assassin, you know. He just doesn't say a whole heck of a lot in terms of like, you know, us who won't shut up. Terry's just a good guy that just gets it done. So
It's one of those
But,
people that only speaks when it's worth it,
yeah,
which we
so-
wouldn't know anything about. So
I will be getting Terry a sticker, and I don't know, maybe we got to
We have Dialed Podcast stickers.
We do.
We
Yeah.
do.
For all of our
They
patrons.
are awesome.
Yeah.
So Anyway, if you are interested in becoming a Patreon of the show, go to dialpodcast.com and you will see the Patreon links there on the homepage. Or you can go to Patreon, their web browser, if I'm not mistaken, and just search for Dial Podcast and you'll see us pop up there. We really appreciate everybody who's supporting us. That's a big help. So, cool. Hey, is Champ Baylor on? Champ
Bailey here.
Oh, there he is.
Champ's on basically like homestay for this entire time here. There's really not a lot.
I got 3 things in the news to talk about. One that was announced today. Strava has made some changes.
I just saw this. Yeah.
So they are changing their subscription model a little bit, making it $5 a month instead of, I think it was like $70 a year for the summit, and now they've made it $5 a month. So they've backed it off. There's only one level of membership.
Right.
And now for you to be able to look at segments and look at leaderboards of segments, you have to be a paying Strava member.
Really?
Yeah.
To look at what?
Looks like I'm
to look
paying
at
for Strava
segments.
now.
I know. I'm just wondering if I should pay for Strava because I don't. You two do, and we don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to probably pay for it now.
You can
I did
only
see that this
Another
morning.
thing.
you can only see the top 10s if you have the free subscription. You can see the top 10 lists, and your efforts still count in there, but you can't look anything beyond the top 10 if you're not a paid member.
But
So,
you can see all of your past
Segments.
yes,
like the times that you've gone out and
Correct.
hammered. Okay.
yeah, and also the route builder if you use that.
I don't like the fact that they took away features.
Well, that's
That's a little sketch, right? Where
Yeah.
here we're getting. Well, I don't know.
They
Give away
basically
all this stuff
took-
for free, and they're like,
Yeah.
now you got to pay for it.
They kind of like dropped the price of Summit a little bit, but then took away the free stuff.
little
So
bit.
and
Yeah.
then trying to just push people towards.
But
doing
they
the
did have
Summit.
like
Yeah.
3 different things. Remember the
there
summit
was
thing?
3 different
that
like,
all cost
types.
different amounts of.
Yeah, and they did away with that. Now there's just one type. Yeah, it's
like a
Based
tier
on what
thing.
you get and based on, in my opinion, how positive it is for the cycling community, for building community, that's well worth $5 a month.
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna
So-
pay for it. I'm just gonna do it. Yeah.
Then you need to learn how to use live segments.
That's actually why I'm doing it, is because I'm
Right.
definitely
Actually-
gonna be using that now.
Live segments will still work either way, is what they said.
Yeah.
There's no change to live segments.
Wait, I thought live segments only worked if you were paying.
That's what I thought too.
I was pretty sure about that. Well, maybe.
Wait. There's
'Cause
no
I've
change to
never
live
had-
segments. That was and still is only available
Okay, yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
subscribers.
Yeah.
Because I've never had it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of frustrating because when you actually do want to go for a segment, you've got to know it.
You're like guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just go to somewhere and go hard.
Well, it's nice too because you can set it to show you if you're pacing your personal record. You can choose any one of your friends that you follow. You can set it to follow the KOM. It just depends on what effort you want to go after. So
Yeah. That is
for
nice.
training
It's-
purposes, if you want to plug in like what your PR is and you want to just try and maintain that, if you're doing
Sure.
like repeats on it or just it's a part of your training workout, that's pretty functional.
Also, if you use the route builder on Strava, that will only be available to subscribers as well.
Gotcha.
So,
Did they fix their power information on there yet, or is it still sucking?
I
always-
skimmed this article as you guys were all yapping, so I'm not exactly sure.
So there's that, and then every time you go on a ride, they always take away like 1/10 of a mile or something.
Right.
It always guesstimates my wattage really, really high.
It does for me, too.
No, it's always really low for me. Actually, it's
guesses,
hilariously low.
I think it guesses mine high.
Does
I
it?
think- Well, if you're on a TT bike and you're slippery or whatever, then it's like you must have been
Oh,
pushing
that's true.
350
Yeah,
watts.
yeah,
Guess
that's
what,
true.
Jake? I wasn't pushing 350 watts.
Yeah. I know whenever I was out on my gravel bike for or the cross bike for long rides, it'd be like, you averaged 112 watts for this ride.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
yes,
gravel.
Yes, I did.
In other cycling news, there was lots of Everesting news this last week. So the Everesting world record has been held for the last 3 years by an Australian guy. Can't remember his name right now. In 8 hours and 24 minutes or something like that. We talked last week that Phil Gaiman was going to make a run at it.
That's fast. 8 hours, 24 minutes.
And Phil Gaiman did actually break the world record and went 7 hours and 52 minutes on a climb in the LA area called Mountain Gate.
Mountain Gate.
Mountain
Yep.
Gate. So pretty incredible that he broke that. 3 short days later, U.S. champion cross-country mountain biker Keegan Swenson went out and broke Phil's record by a good 12 minutes. So Phil broke the record, held it for 3 days. Keegan Swenson went out and did it in 7 hours and 40 minutes.
How does that feel when someone then does that to Evan?
Except it's an 8-hour freaking effort.
It feels really bad to have that taken away in less than a week. To not be able to sit on there. I think we're comparing equal achievements too. No, that's that has got it. And I know in the comments, Guyman has said I will be a
Hey,
gracious loser as he always is and everything like that. That eats at him. 3 days later, that effort took a lot.
It did.
Like
Phil Guyman has a YouTube channel which has been very popular with cyclists.
It's a good channel.
And he still hasn't put. It takes a week or two to edit a video well enough because I think he does it all himself.
He doesn't do very much editing to his videos.
Well,
though.
regardless, he doesn't.
They're pretty raw videos.
He doesn't have his attempt out on video yet. He has 2 videos out that are like precursors to it.
His
like,
brain's probably not working yet.
no. So he hasn't even before he even got the video out of his attempt at it. Keegan Swenson went.
Do you think he's just? What if he just? So he has part 1 and 2 out. 3 is the attempt. What if he just doesn't release number 3?
Well, I tell you what, I absolutely want to see the video.
Oh, I do.
I know
for sure.
Keegan Swenson didn't put together a video.
I'm sure there's going to be some little sad
Phil
trombone
puked at one point too.
Yeah.
He
There's
had
going to be
puke in his
some little
beard when it was done.
sad trombone part at the end. It's like wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
He's like,
Lost
oh,
it
by the
3
way,
days later.
yeah.
I lost
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I bet you're right.
So pretty crazy. So Keegan Swenson, he's a mountain biker and super strong. Obviously did it on a road
Very
bike
strong,
on a road outside of Utah. Actually, right outside of Provo, Utah.
Do you think that he just picked a better route? I mean, I think so much. Okay, so this is a complete theory, and I'm just talking out of my. But I think that picking routes and things like that for an attempt like that is probably potentially more important than how strong you are, because
I'd agree.
8 hours.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Phil
It's a long time.
Guyman.
You're talking about a lot of strong cyclists. It's like
all-
I
they're
think
all
the
super
thing that
strong.
matters then is the route. Yeah.
I think that some of them are stronger than others for sure, but at the same time, I'm just thinking like
These guys were trying to do it for speed, not just to get it done. You could just get it done, and they both had guys that did it with them that finished in like 12 hours that didn't do it as fast as them. But Phil Guyman's, I believe his climb was like 460 feet of climb, and it was straight so that he could turn around, bomb down, and go right back up. It had easy ways to turn around and straight descents. You weren't going through switchbacks, which would slow you down on the descent. Keegan Swenson's climb, it's called the Pine Creek Climb. It was actually part of the Tour of Utah. It was
much longer, right?
It was 1,000-foot climb. So we only had to do 29 laps of it. He didn't have to do 62 or 6 whatever Phil had to do. And it was straight, and it was 1,000-foot climb, and so he could bomb that thing down. So I think
that's a long
gained some
straight
speed.
climb.
Yeah.
I can't even that's a long.
Keegan
long
actually
climb.
said that the thing that was most sore on him was the back of his neck because
Bombing
he
down.
super tucked every single time down.
Oh, my gosh.
He super tucked every time down. I don't know if it's every time, but his neck was sore from keeping his head up, super tucking. So
it might come down to like the descent.
how fast
for
you
how
can
fast
do
you
it.
can do it.
Yeah.
Right. So even if they had the exact same route, but it was double the distance, he could have bombed down even faster, probably.
Yeah.
Keegan's was 105 miles, and Phil's was like 98 miles.
Yeah.
I think.
So
I wanna
distance
say.
wise, they're pretty darn close.
Pretty
to
close.
each other. Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, like, if
But he went
his
way
if
fast
his was a
on the
little
descent.
steeper, in 2,000 meters of climbing, so twice to the length
Yeah.
or whatever, then he could go faster. I think that the route matters.
There's a little caveat too that not very many people are mentioning. Keegan's was done at altitude. He was at 6,000 feet.
6,000 feet.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Phil was close to
That's
sea
huge.
level. I'm
Oh,
guessing.
yeah.
Well, it's
I
in
mean,
LA, so
yeah.
Mountain Gate's basically got to be sea
nothing
level.
I mean,
yeah.
there's the climb itself, which was like 400 or 500 feet.
it'd
but
be under 1,000 feet,
Yeah.
I would guess.
That's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah.
I mean, and Phil would admit that Phil's raced professionally at altitude, like he knows. Yeah, that's-
anything under 5,000, you're not going to really feel too much. But
But
you get up there
also
at that 6,000 foot mark, you're
could
going to start to
argue-
feel that.
Yeah, he's going to be able to descend faster though, thinner air. So,
Still.
which does play a little bit
Is
of a
that
difference.
where
yeah.
Keegan calls home?
Yeah, he lives in Heber City.
Okay.
Heber is this fantastic community just outside of Provo in American Fork, Utah. It is just great outdoor stuff. It's not far from Park City.
Matt
and
knows
Salt Lake
American
City.
Fork. That's where one of the best cross-country programs in America is for high school, right?
Which one?
American Fork.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so he lives there.
Next to Camas, of course.
Well, I mean, there are no Camas. Yeah.
No, not even close. Not even ballpark Camas, but close second.
Keegan Swenson is a big Trainer Road user, and I think he's either sponsored by Trainer Road and by Stan's
Sealant.
Yeah, Sealant, and he's still professional. He's still racing cross country. He's
I would
our
love
reigning
to.
national
I would
champion.
love to see what like his hardest workout was leading into that on Trainer Road. Maybe like 7 hours at like 50 by 8 minutes.
Trainer Road workouts, there aren't more than 2 hours. They're all 2 hour.
Well, except for David did tell me about one that
They
goes
have
longer. It's
one
the-
or two.
Is it the kitchen sink or whatever it's
they
called?
have one that's called. I don't.
It's not called the
Still,
kitchen sink, but
you
something
can
like
easily
that.
double
stupid.
up
It's like
stuff.
4 hour
Yeah.
workout, but they're. I mean, all of Trainer Road's workouts are worked around the right type of interval sets with the right type of rest. So they're all under 2 hours. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh.
I'm sure he can modify stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And double back on things, right? I mean, you do the kitchen sink twice,
There you go.
Right.
and I'm sure he has coaches helping him or some guidance there.
Yeah.
So
This is gonna be like the big quarantine thing now for pro cyclists who don't want to race virtually.
KOMs
There's gonna
or
be like
Everesting?
we're in Everest. Yeah, just like you're gonna see Egan Bernal go out and do some crazy Everest.
Okay,
attempt.
so are you guys interested in doing this Everesting thing?
Nope.
I'm interested in watching Evan try.
I have no interest in doing this. I can't imagine.
Oh,
I want to base my summer around doing this.
Why am I not surprised, Evan?
Talk to me right when it's done and say if that was a good idea. Ask me if it was a good idea.
The thing is, I mean, for me to Everest, it's going to take me 12 or 14 hours to do that. At hour 6, I'm going to friggin' crash on the descent because I'm licked.
yeah.
Because I can't keep my eyes open anymore. I can't imagine.
If it was something if it was something that I think I could do, I'd be interested in it. I don't think I could do it.
I think I could do it, but I just don't have any desire. I just don't
12
want
to 14 hours. I don't want to descend at that point.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't want to,
You have to
obviously I
be-
wouldn't care about time,
You
but
have to be on
I
your
don't think
game to
yeah.
descend fast. I mean, you can't. Oh, my God.
Do an STP for
not
9.5
too
to
worried
10
about
hours.
descending fast
That's
during this.
plenty of time to be in the saddle, and that's only 5,500 feet of elevation gain. I mean, you're pedaling, you're just doing different things, but that is so much strain
Yeah.
on your body. It's hard on the body, and it's hard on the bike too. I mean, make sure that you get some brand new brake pads in your bike before you go
yeah.
do that.
Oh, there's going to be as soon as it's done. I'm just switching out whatever brake pads I was using.
Yeah.
I know
Those aren't seeing another ride after that.
Rebecca Rush with her Be Good Foundation. I know she is sponsoring an Everest type challenge for Memorial Day weekend, which
Wow.
is next
coming weekend,
yeah, where she's challenging people to go out and either do the full Everest attempt or do a half attempt or do 10,000 feet or do 5,000 feet. Just try to go out and do something like that on a similar
like-
type thing where you do one climb multiple times.
Yeah.
I feel like a half would be something that would be interesting. I feel like 10K is a great challenging, doable thing, right?
Yeah.
So
That's still 10,000 feet of elevation
Yeah.
gain for a lot of people. That's
big
lot.
insurmountable, and we've done it. I mean, I've done it probably a dozen times in my day. It's hard. That's not an easy ride. It's not an easy day on the bike.
yeah.
I don't think I've actually been over 10K since when I was living in Colorado for a short bit.
Gotcha.
Now, when I was living in Colorado for a short bit, there was in 1 week, I think we did 3 rides that were over 10K just because that's what people in Colorado do. You go on a ride on a Saturday, if you're in a group, guaranteed you're going to be over 10K.
I want to say at training camp 2 years ago, I had
yeah.
I
Over
did
11.
over
2
15.
years ago.
I think I did 15. Didn't I do 15
No,
one
I think
day?
we were like 11-ish to
Yeah.
12.
In my mind, I did
So
15,000,
18?
and I'm sticking with it.
I thought it was
Didn't
over
we do like
20.
24? I think we did 24.
I think you Everested that day, Lance.
Because
I think you've already done this.
I've already
I
done
think the
this.
last
Is
Matt.
that 37?
the last day you did 11 or something, and we
I did
100,
like 11,400 feet or something
and
like
that was over about 110 miles or something.
Yeah.
Now I will say by our next podcast I will, and I'm not going to say who else is going to do this with me yet because I think one of them wants to kind of keep it on the DL just for a short bit before he says he's going to do it.
What? Because his wife doesn't know yet. Sorry.
Possibly. But I think this weekend I'm going to go in between 10 and 15K on one climb and see how that feels. So I may come back next Monday and be like, this is really going to suck. Like, this is going to hurt super bad.
I can already answer that question
It
for
will.
you.
It's going to suck.
Yes.
But there's like a level to the suck. It's like, is this going to hurt so bad that I'm not going to want to ride a bicycle for a year? Or is this going to suck where it's like 2-3 days you're toast and then be okay?
Shout out to teammate Sean Martin,
Who did 10K recently.
Did 10K
on one
just-
climb.
Just on one climb, just 2 days ago.
Right after his son, Nels,
Took the KOM on the same
took
climb.
the KOM on the same climb.
yeah.
I'm really glad Sean didn't go out and try to actually take that back from Nels. I don't think oh God, am I going to call it Sean? I don't think Sean could take that back from Nels.
No.
That was a strong effort from
It
Nels.
was.
Like
Nels-
a really strong
that-
effort.
Here's the thing. He's got the right everything.
He does for that
He
climb.
weighs 48 pounds,
That climb is like 50%.
and it's all muscle.
Yeah.
And he's a good cyclist.
He is. Rides a bike well.
He can climb.
360 watts, and he probably weighs, let's be honest, weighs what, about 130? maybe?
Buck 30, a buck 40.
Right.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
130.
And
My
the
money
climb
would
was
be on Nels in that climb.
just
If it
over
was
5
Sean
minutes.
versus Nels on the start line, I'm putting my money on Nels.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Sean, this is not a call out to you. You're strong as heck, and you and me have climbed together a bunch, but your son is really strong. So I'm going to put my money on Nels.
I can't even beat Nels on a climb.
Well,
Yeah, Nels is strong as
especially
heck.
the short, punchy stuff. He's
Yeah.
got some get up and go,
Yeah.
and I think that Sean on anything flat and long. He's
Yeah,
good.
if it's like a 4% climb, money's on Sean. Anything
Sean's
above
gotten
that.
a lot stronger. I mean, I
Oh,
don't want to take
he's-
that away from
he
him.
is.
super strong.
He
yeah.
is. Oh, that'd be a great little battle right there. We need to get Sean and Nels to
Father-son
race
throwdown.
each other at Force Home.
That's a
that'd
tough
be
little
cool.
climb. So, good job.
One more thing in the news. We talked a week or two ago about Chris Froome and how Evan was positive that he would never consider leaving Team Ineos because he is the heart and soul of that team.
I thought I said that he would
No,
leave.
that's
I think
exactly how I
we need to
remember it.
roll the tape back.
He will never leave that team because he will always
as
be-
Evan was saying
and
that,
Econ
he's like
Bernal would be
signing.
the one to leave. He's
As
signing.
Evan signing, he's signing away.
like, "What'd
some
he say?"
contract.
Oh, okay.
What'd he say? Dial podcast. All right, let me get this. Let me just
All right,
put this
Ineos,
in
let's
ink.
go and sign that extension. What'd that guy say from the Dial podcast? Oh, never mind. CCC, bring that over, please.
Chris Froome has not left Team Ineos, but the rumors were flying this week that he was considering it.
Is
He
it
even
the Israeli team is what is rumored? Correct.
There's a couple of rumors.
Okay.
Movie Star was one of the rumors,
Boo.
and the Israeli Startup Academy was another rumor.
I'll tell you what, that's what Movie Star needs. Another leader that they don't know what to do
all their
with.
leaders are
But all their
gone.
leaders
though.
are gone.
Oh, that's
So
true.
they
That's true.
actually
Quintana's
could
gone.
be-
they
Yeah,
have
Yep.
Valverde still, and that's
He's
it.
old. Yeah.
That Israeli team, that's where Quintana went, isn't it?
Quintana did not. He went to
No, he-
some some other.
Oh,
like,
really? Okay.
small
Yeah,
team.
hold
I
on.
think when this is all over, pro cycling is just going to look different. We're going to be like, who are these teams?
It's-
Who are these? Where is
Yeah.
so and so?
It's still a
Yeah.
mess.
It's gonna be
a
interesting.
mess, and things
Yeah.
will change in the next 6 months because some of these teams will not survive this protracted
Well,
race
it's going to be
season.
interesting with them.
Arkia Samsic is the
Yeah.
team that Quintana's on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pushing a lot of these Grand Tour races back into the time where transfers can actually start to take place. So, I mean,
Oh yeah,
I'm curious to see.
because those contracts aren't going to
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think
and there's some overlap.
I
between
think
the
it is
races.
definitely a rumor, but I think it's a valid rumor. Obviously, he was quoted in saying something along the lines. This is not a direct quote, but he said something along the lines of, "I don't know where my future is with Ineos."
Yeah.
And he said like this, 2020, 2021, whatever it was that he said. I mean, it sounded pretty.
he was a little
Heavy.
He was
Yeah,
a little
it did.
bent. He was a little bent over the fact that
think so.
Bernal said that he's not going to support him, and that Ineos didn't come out and say anything about that. They're just like,
Yeah, probably.
sitting over there, like with arms crossed, looking around, whistling a little bit, saying, "Oh, we didn't, pretend like we didn't hear that." So
That's funny.
yeah, so we'll
Well,
see.
and in Froome's defense too, I'd be pretty frustrated if I was him because if we remember back to I'm gonna get the year wrong. Somebody correct me on the year. 2014 when Wigo won, and Froome attacked him at one point, and he was kind of drugged through the coals there for attacking. Now it was deserved because you're on a climb supporting your leader who's in yellow, and you decide that you're just gonna like bust off the front there, and not look back for your leader, But I mean.
I
That's
think his response to that was, "I thought he was on my wheel, and he wasn't."
yeah. And then they look at the video and they're like, "Oh, Froome checked looked behind him twice." He'd be like, "Oh, you really didn't see Wigo?" Like,
Come
you
on,
can-
Wigo.
Also, if your job is to be, you should probably be checking if your job is
that's
to
your
face
job.
your leader.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably a little sour with him. He's like, oh, well, they went to Wiggins' defense so quickly, and now, a teammate says he's not going to support me, and nobody says anything.
I think ultimately that they were pretty bullish on Froome, right? I mean, after that tour where they were like, he could win, he could easily win, and they were like, he's going to be the leader, and then Wiggins, you got to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think he was like, I got to start my own. I'm going to start my own game.
Yeah.
Our record.
Screw this climbing thing. I hate climbing anyway, which he did. So.
Froome's getting old, hasn't won the tour in 3 years, coming off a terrible injury.
Bernal just won, and what, in my opinion, was dominating fashion if the tour hadn't been adjusted because of weather.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I think him going to a different team is probably going to be good for him.
I do too.
Yeah.
Cool. Champ.
No more news. Champ Bailey out.
Champ Bailey.
Champ Bailey is out of the house. All right, let's jump into our topic for today. How do you guys pick the right bike? How do we pick the right bike for ourselves?
Ask Jake.
That has been a very common question.
I get this question a lot too.
I've been asked this question. I can't tell you how many times in the last month. It's got to be over 20 times people have asked me, help me pick the right bike. What bike should I get?
I know 4 people who have asked you that last week. Literally last week. I know 4 people asked you that.
I know 3 people that have asked you that at this table.
In the last hour.
So I just want to run through this because, Evan just bought a new bike. I don't know if he's going to disclose that yet, but Matt's always looking for a bike. Lance buys bikes all the time.
I think I'm going to buy another bike today.
So all of us are within a month of buying a bike.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's no racist that there's not that, like,
there's
you
not
got to
time
do it.
for it.
You got to do it now.
Take your time, make the right decision.
There are a lot of people, though, that are getting outside in the riding. They're just taking up the sport. So there's kind of a big cross-section. It's like a spectrum of people that are getting out there and riding. I mean, you've got a lot of folks that just want to go for a little weekend cruise with the family, or you got some people who are like, hey, I've seen all of you guys doing this stuff on this bike and this Strava thing that somebody told me about, and tell me about this, and I want to go do that too. Or you got people that are upgrading their race bikes. You got people that are jumping into different disciplines, and it's just a myriad of questions. So I just wanted to kind of run through some stuff to help maybe point people in the right direction.
Have you guys heard that all kids' bikes are sold out everywhere?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Which is quarantine, man. People are like going to ride their bikes. This is good for us, potentially.
It is, yeah. Yeah. I think it's, the question that I know Jake has heard recently is from people who are just now getting into the sport, whether it's cycling, triathlon, whatever it be. I think the first thing you have to consider is, what bike do you think early on you're going to have the most fun on?
Yeah.
Don't get uncomfortable on a bike until you want to go really fast. And that's not kind of like, be like, oh, I want to go fast and be the best I can. Yeah, once you really want to start racing, that's when you can get uncomfortable on a bike. Whether that means getting the really aggressive TT bike or the really aggressive road racing bike.
Well, and even beyond that, where I think step one is you kind of said this, like, what bike do you want? Kind of bike do you want? Do you want a gravel bike? Do you want?
What are you gonna have the most fun?
Do you want a beach cruiser? Like step one.
Do you want a mountain bike?
Yes.
What bike do you want?
What disciplines?
What kind of bike?
Yeah, that's my first thing.
What are you going to use it for?
What disciplines are most attractive to you? What do you want to do with this bike? And there are a lot of people out there that are afraid of cars. They don't necessarily want to go mountain bike riding, and they wanted to go check out this gravel stuff that they've heard about, and they know that they can use that bike for other things. So that's why that bike has been so popular. I mean, I can't, the phone won't stop ringing, people asking about the BMC Ors gravel bike or the Cannondale Topstone. I mean, those two bikes get a lot of attention.
They're great on
probably
the
second
trip.
to kids' bikes, like Matt said.
Kids' bikes.
I'll probably get 4 or 5 phone calls this week for people looking for a specific bike, and it's sold out.
And that's probably without you doing a ton of marketing.
I'm doing zero marketing. I mean, look around. How many kids' bikes do you generally see here?
Yeah.
I mean, we deal with them usually when we're doing the bikes for kids, or maybe it's like,
super nice.
Somebody on our team wants to get a bike for their kid. That's when we deal with them. But I guess that's just because we're a dealer. But figuring out what discipline they want to use it for is probably the first question. Yeah. So the gravel bike is very important for a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that just naturally gravitate towards wanting to ride on the road.
Yeah.
What road bike are you guys going to pick?
This is just a biased opinion because this is how I started. I really think starting with an aluminum frame bike for a couple reasons, depending on what kind of money you're able to throw at this. They're always going to be more affordable. I think they're durable as all get out. I crashed my LA Specialized bicycle. Now, I will not be riding, Alays again, but I crashed that thing more times. Like literally more times I could count.
You sometimes don't even ride it and you just kick it over.
I think it just fell over at least 20 times. Yeah. With me on it, another 30 times probably. But that bike sustained all that. Now, not to say that, carbon frames are durable, but You spend a lot of money on a carbon frame. You want to make sure that if you're going to go down, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes you can have some issues with that.
So potentially like what we talked about, like what disciplines you're going to use, what kind of bike that would potentially lend itself towards. The material is maybe the next thing. So you're saying, hey, aluminum's a good option. People should consider that, because
then if you love the sport, then after that, and you're like, I want to road race now, you can upgrade from that.
Right.
So it's that good first step into the sport of, we'll just say, road racing.
And I think if you pick steel, which is a valid option, then it does change the brands of bikes that you're going to look at, right? So I think material that you choose is something to consider as one of the talking points.
Yeah,
for sure.
The next filter that I always go to is like, what's your budget? Let's get you the best bike we can for the budget.
Yeah.
If I have the option of putting somebody on like a 25-pound alloy bike versus if they can spend a few extra bucks and maybe go down to like a 20-pound entry-level carbon fiber bike, I'm going to want to put them on the bike that's 5 pounds lighter. That makes a big difference, and Evan should know that. I mean, you just picked up a brand new road bike, and let's talk about the difference between your road bike and your current road bike.
Yeah, I mean the ALR from BMC is what, Jake? I think I weighed it myself at like 22 and a half. I think is roughly what it is. Which is, I mean, compared to if you're somebody who's coming from a cruiser, that's a very light bike.
That bike's it's a tank. It's built to be like sturdy. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a good commuter bike. It's going to be a good endurance bike, and it's inexpensive to get into.
Comfortable, smooth ride too. The ALR is a very smooth ride. I like it. But if I'm trying to get said KOMs back from people who put out ridiculous amounts of watts, like Mike Ivan and Tonk, then I'm going to need to go lighter. So,
we're coming for your KOMs too.
Oh, are you? Because that's the last time I'm going for KOMs on an aluminum bike. I can promise you. So, Jake and I'll say Jake and I decided on it because it really was mostly from like me asking Jake about 400 million questions. But BMC also in this line. So when we're talking about going down in materials, you're going to the carbon options with BMC, which get significantly lighter.
Yep.
So you're talking about going. So the bike I'm getting is the SLR01. Mm-hmm. That bike. Now there's things that add to it. There's components. There's wheels. But when you're talking about just your typical build on these bikes, you're going down to about 16 and a half pounds. You're going under 17.
You're going to be closer to 16,
yeah. So we'll just round and say 16.
You're dropping over 6 pounds off the weight of your bike, so that's going to be a pretty significant difference. And that for a lot of other people, that's going to be a pretty big difference too, especially if they're not trained athletes, but they want to get into this road. Now, you don't want to oversell them, give them too much bike. I mean, it's like if they're going to go out and casually ride
cars,
a couple times a month, you don't need to set them up with a $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 road bike. You can definitely get into something that's a lot less than that, but. Budget. I think that's like the next logical step. For talking to people about what it is that they want to get into.
I think somewhere very high up on the list of things to look into when you're picking out a bike would be the geometry and the fit.
Yep.
Which I would somewhere really close to price as far as like importance goes. I think that there are certain. I mean, because if you know roughly where your fit is, it will exclude, 80% of the bikes on the market, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, this bike and this bike and this bike are going to be your choices. And then sometimes you can say, well, budget-wise, this one's a better option for me. It doesn't have to be that way. It could be like you could do budget first and then be like, but it still needs to fit you. Otherwise, you're going to be uncomfortable on your bike, or the fit's just not going to work for you. And, I'm thinking triathlon bikes in particular, right, where it's like if you don't have the, reach or the stack height correct, it's just not going to work for you. You're never going to be comfortable on your bike. So it could be really bad.
I think like rider experience goes into that too when you're talking about the type of fit. So that's when like the more aggressive, the faster road bikes, like yes, you can adjust the fit to where they're going to be slightly more comfortable on it, but like naturally riding a gravel bike is going to be more comfortable of a ride than riding a cross bike like we've talked about here. So if you're not planning on racing cross, you would want to choose the gravel bike. If you're, choosing between, I want an off-road bike, but I don't want a mountain bike, it's like, okay, well, what are your goals? If your goals is to go fast and do well in cross races, get the cross bike. If you want to just ride and maybe do a cross race, that's when you look at the gravel bike. Yeah. I think it's the same thing when you look at like carbon versus aluminum. Is like, I mean, some of these, especially like the SLR's geometry is an aggressive bike. What's another good example? Like if you're looking at Trek's Aero road bike, they're just different geometry bikes. Yeah. Those are all aggressive geometry.
Most bike companies have like their more aggressive race bike, and then they'll have more of an endurance bike. So those are like the two primary things that you're going to look at. Like endurance might be synonymous with something like a Roubaix, like the specialized Roubaix. So basically what you're looking at there is a bike that's generally going to have a taller head tube, meaning that it's going to naturally put the bars up a little bit higher, which naturally puts your body up a little bit higher, which naturally means that you're going to grab a little bit more wind. Your CDA increases. So that might be a really good bike for people, though. Some people will see that bike and say, hey, you know what? That bike looks slick, looks comfortable. I can go out there and ride it for an hour to 3 or 4, and it's going to work great. Another little thing that I generally like to ask people too is like, do you have any injuries? Do you have any issues that are going to keep
hamstring flexibility?
right?
Hamstring
or
flexibility, lower back.
Yep, and neck and shoulder issues.
How many times have you gotten hit by a car when you're out in Washougal?
How many times have you been a dentist for 20 years?
Yeah.
I'm ruined.
Well, another thing too, when you start looking at a lot of the more endurance bikes, we'll say like the AL or the Road Machine from BMC, because we have that. When you look at those bikes, when they come in and you start sizing them up side by side, those are going to be probably a little bit more adapt to being a good rain bike. They are going to probably have like grommets on there to put some fenders on there versus like a race bike isn't going to have that on there.
Yeah,
they're all about
the
like
machine probably
aerodynamics and decreasing weight. So you're having to get into fenders that you can strap on, like a SKG, I think is that the company?
I don't know.
They make a really good the Race Blade or something like that fender.
I know what you're talking about, the one that just sits off the back seat.
Yeah, a lot of our teammates use those. And
that's the ass saver.
Yeah, the ass saver, exactly.
That's a different. You're talking about, those are two different things, but go ahead.
But they're going to have other little things too that you might find on there if you want to do some touring. That's becoming kind of a popular thing where you can go ride for multiple days, and maybe you want to have a place where you can mount something on there, like an extra bag or backpack or whatever. So those are other little things that you need to take into consideration for what you're going to use it for. And then I also like to ask people, sorry if I'm just rambling on here, like, how competitive are you? Because I don't want to get somebody on there on a bike that's going to be like, hey, this is great, then get them like going like on Strava, and like all of a sudden they're like, well, crap, my bike's too heavy, I'm too upright, I'm not going to be able to chase these segments, and maybe if I want to get into racing, I'm going to have to sell this bike and buy something else. It'd be kind of nice just to get them what they need in the beginning. And a lot of the race bikes have a pretty, we'll call it non-aggressive position. I mean, you've got like a stack height that's relatively high, and a lot of bikes, I look at them when they first come in, I'm like, that's a race bike. It doesn't even look like it because the stack is so high. We've got to cut the steer tube down quite a bit to drop the front end down, and you got to get things kind of like dialed in, or people want to change the stem lengths to kind of be a little bit further out. There's a lot of little things on these bikes that make them more compliant when you first get them, as opposed to what you're going to end up doing to them once you're getting them race ready. So
exactly,
but yeah.
I think there's also when you're looking at Jake, like how competitive you are, is that this is where this kind of segues into the toughest question with this, Matt, and I think you'd agree, is in the triathlon world, because in the road bike racing world, we're talking about aluminum versus carbon. Cross world, it's a little bit easier conversation between your gravel bike and your cross bike on really what your goals are. But in the triathlon world, you do get a lot of people, I think, that get into triathlon and right away want to be fast at the sport. Whether they came from a running background like yourself, or they came actually from a cycling background. Right. And now they're like, do I need to buy the super expensive triathlon bike right now?
Right.
My answer, and I almost want somebody to play devil's advocate here, is
I can do that.
Get in on a road bike first. I mean, especially if you have not raced a triathlon before, don't be the person that jumps in right away and buys that, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
It's gonna be hard to argue against that, but I will say that you can. There's someone from GCN is doing this like little bike build, ultra cheap Cervelo P2 build with a homemade disc wheel.
You can do a homemade disc. Alan Plank did an awesome homemade disc.
And here's
wheel.
The thing is, it's like you look at that and it's going to be 95% competitive with any bike out there on the market, and it's probably, I'm guessing, under $2,000. Nice. Well under.
Well, P2, if you're buying a P2
used P2 with a homemade disc wheel, which basically costs nothing.
You could probably get that.
And it's pretty competitive, cheap. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not going to be a super bike, but it's not that far off. And that P2 that he has is $10 10 years old probably. Actually, he has I think it's an aluminum one. Because they used to make the P2 in an aluminum, so it may be even older than 10 years, maybe 15 years old. So
I think my only suggestion is just because if you're somebody who does not have a riding experience, now if you have a riding experience and you're like, I want to get a triathlon bike to be fast out there, then go for it. Like get yourself into that aero position.
And there are people that don't ride in groups ever. Like I'm thinking about my older brother, right? He races triathlon.
What would you talk? Yeah, I was gonna say if you could go back in time when your brother first started triathlon, what would you make your suggestion?
He made some dumb decisions. He's probably listening to this, and I told him he bought he bought a 9-speed bike new from a store, and I was like, you should get a 10-speed bike because it's just gonna be more compatible with different wheels, and you're gonna want to change stuff. Anyway, so he did 9-speed, and I thought that was a tough decision, but whatever. I feel like that's fine. He got a road bike, which I think is fine. I actually think a road bike makes a lot of sense. But I think ultimately he'll want something, maybe the next step could be like an affordable TT bike because he does not ride with anyone. He won't ride with anyone. He rides by himself. And the only stuff he does is, he wants to know, how fast he's going miles per hour wise on his training rides. And race wise, those are TT race type situations because it's a triathlon race. So I don't know. Yeah. He might be one of those people that could potentially go that route. That's my argument. Yeah. It's a tough argument to make. Almost everyone should do road bike because it's such a more versatile machine. And you can ride with
people.
It
comes down to Jake's question of how competitive are you? Yeah. But that question has to also be how experienced are you riding bicycles? Because what I think triathlon does get a bad name for bike handling. And I think the reason we get a bad name for bike handling, outside of the fact that we do not like to join group rides frequently.
Is it because we're horrible bike handlers?
That could be it. But
time trial bikes don't handle.
Well, and it's also, if you buy that triathlon bike and it's your only bike, guess what you don't get to do a lot of?
Yeah.
Group riding.
No.
Because it's not some prejudice thing against triathletes. It's dangerous if you're in a group ride on a triathlon bike.
Yeah.
Unless you are with other triathletes. And I've seen triathlon group rides.
You should come ride with my triathlon group.
And they're fun. I mean, it's kind of fun. You're like 8 feet apart from each other. It's like you're not even group riding. It's like you're solo TTing kind of close to each other.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But that doesn't improve.
TT bikes.
But it does not improve your bike handling, is what I'm saying. So but if you could get the road bike, go on group rides, become a more experienced cyclist. Then once you become that more experienced cyclist and you're safe handling the bike, that's when you get yourself into that TT position.
I think your point is really valid, and that would be a TT bike makes a lot of sense for like a second bike if you're if you're a triathlete. And
even within a year or two, if you're really feeling confident and you're like, I want to go fast,
and
do it.
Having 2 bikes is good.
It is.
Here's something that I've heard from
having
people
3 bikes
before.
Is better.
And then if I think back into time, I probably even thought this at one point in time before I knew any better. How many people do you know say that they want a TT bike over a road bike because they think it looks more comfortable because you can rest your arms on it?
I've heard people say that.
Well,
I've also had to inform people that is not the case. That is
no. I've told this story on this podcast before, but I'm very comfortable on a TT bike.
You are.
Because
you've done a lot of work training yourself into that position.
Yeah, but I think there's some truth to being able to move your arms in different positions, especially for those long, and I'm thinking 100-mile rides. And up until training camp 2 years ago, I had never done a 100-miler on a road bike, only TT bikes, and I had done quite a few of them on TT bikes. Again, I'm training for Ironman racing events, but I had never done something on a road bike. And to be honest, I still may lean towards like using a TT bike if I was to go out for a 100-miler.
I love road bike centuries over TT bike centuries.
Yeah, all of you guys would. I would expect everyone, that I'm. But if you're training for certain things, that are going to be on TT bikes, and that's how you've been training, then you might be more comfortable using what you've been training with.
Yeah. So, do you guys remember the very first time you rode a TT bike and what your thought was or like your takeaway was on that bike?
That's a good. What was my first ride on a TT bike?
Well,
I'd have to really think back.
Did you go from road bike to clip-on aero bars? Because
no.
that helps the transition phase.
I probably because I had already been bike racing by the time that I got my TT bike, so I had already had a season of Cat 4-5 racing underneath. 2 seasons actually underneath 3. Ooh, it may have been 3 years in before I even got a TT bike. So I think if I'd gotten it earlier, I'd probably remember it more because it would have been more terrifying.
I clearly remember getting on a. I started on a borrowed road bike with clip-on aero bars for a triathlon.
Yeah.
And then I bought a $700 time trial bike from Craigslist.
Yep. Nice.
Like a 3-year-old Craigslist buy or something.
Did you keep both bikes?
The other one was borrowed. I gave.
Oh, okay.
I had to
So
give it back.
you're the
Gave
one.
it back, yeah.
You're the first. Your TT bike was the first bike.
Yeah, so I bought a TT bike.
So you're
Yeah.
kind of a triathlete.
right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so you're kind of the
And I
exact person I'm
remember-
talking about.
I remember getting on and riding that thing, thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's so fast!" And then, "Oh my gosh, I almost crashed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't handle the same. The geometry is just different because you have to plan for that. You have to
you
plan the corners a little bit better. But I think I biked for years before I ever bought a new bike. I was always searching for Craigslist and buying stuff off of Craigslist.
Well, that kind of jumps into my next point here is buying new versus used. For somebody that's getting into the sport or somebody that's maybe trying to stretch a budget, going used isn't always a bad thing. But there are caveats to that.
Yeah.
You don't want to buy somebody else's problem. So working with
It's
somebody
difficult
that
to
can
know.
help you navigate those waters and to make sure that you're, again, not buying something that somebody's put in a ditch a few times, you don't want to go down that route.
Yeah.
So
I just had this conversation last week with somebody, and they were showing me some pictures, and some of them are grainy pictures.
yeah.
That would be, for me, the first thing is like if somebody puts one picture of the bike up and it's a really grainy picture, pass like right away, unless you can really look at it.
The other thing is, a lot of nerdy triathletes or nerdy cyclists love to go look at bikes and check them out because it is kind of fun to check out whatever it is. So if you can make a friend, if you're new to this stuff, try to join a triathlon club is usually what I tell people to do.
Yes.
And that way, if you can find that one person, hey, do you mind? I'm going to go look at this used bike or whatever. Do you mind coming with me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they'll look
Yep.
for cracks in the carbon and stuff like that
Exactly.
you really do not like you said, you don't want someone else's problems.
Yeah.
And so that's stuff, and they'll look at the component set and they'll say, hey, this is a 9-speed, and at this point in time, there's 11 and 12 speeds right now. I don't think that you want a 9-speed.
Or if it's not disc brake and all that. And I know that, people still look for non-disc brake,
Sure.
but if you're
Yeah.
somebody who's like, oh, I want to upgrade this bike in the future,
Right.
it'd be like, well, then you're probably going to need to buy disc. You want to make sure you have wheels that can adapt to it.
So I think it's just valuable to make friends, even if you have to buy that person a beer, whatever. It'll be worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
So
Just life in general, too. Like making friends is good. Yeah.
yeah.
Have you guys,
It works.
well, Lance already answered this question for himself, but have you guys ever purchased a used bike or a secondhand bike?
Absolutely.
Yes, I have.
What'd you buy?
The Crux from Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you kind
For
of
a great
knew,
deal. Yeah.
you knew the
Oh, yeah.
ownership.
Bob's awesome.
It was
Yeah.
Just Bob's
I
bike.
would have bought, if Bob would have told me like, hey, you want this bike for this amount? I wouldn't need to look at it and be like, Bob's going to keep good care of it. I know. Yeah. Perfect.
I've had a lot of bikes in my day, and I thought about that when I was writing some notes down before the show. I'm like, I've never bought
A used
a
bike.
used bike before. I've always purchased new bikes, but
Yeah.
then again, I've always kind of had a connection to somewhere where it made sense because if I can get a new bike for the same price that you would get a used bike for, then why not? But I think that that's a great way to go. There are a lot of shops that do consignment programs where you can get a bike, and there's some peace of mind there. I do a consignment program here at a Dialed, and the bike gets completely gone through. I mean, we take a look at every last little piece. It's like a 40-point inspection list. And if there are things that are wrong with the bike, we either call them out for the owner to fix them, or we disclose them to the buyer. And I do a 3-month service warranty on it to make sure that the bike stays, in good shape so that people are happy with it. And of all the bikes that I've helped people with, I've never had issues with them. And it's kind of nice. And there are people that bring bikes and I'm like, hey, I don't want to sell this because, if you look down here, see these cracks by your bottom bracket. Yeah, you need to, take this somewhere else or go to Ruckus or something like that.
Yeah.
Ruckus Composites here in Portland is pretty awesome, by the way. But anyhow, I think that secondhand, if you are working with the right people, what Matt explained is a fantastic way.
I want to sell my Specialized bike. It's a
do?
great bike.
Sold.
I really want to give it to my brother, my
a good
older
bike.
brother, because it's a nice bike.
Not after hearing this. He's not going to buy that from you. He's going to be like, screw that Matt guy.
I know, right?
He's talking
For
trash
sure.
about me all over this podcast. I'm not buying that bike from him.
But I think it's nice. It's an 11-speed bike. It's perfect condition. It's, I think it's just the size. It'd be nice if it's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So,
Over the
I
last,
bet we got some juniors that would want to buy that off you.
yeah, it's a good bike.
over the last 15 years, I've bought between me and my wife. I've probably bought
You bought a lot of bikes.
20 bikes
At least.
over the last 15 years, and only
How many of those do you still have?
All of them.
8, 9,
He's-
10, 11.
That's the stuff that he's talking about. He has in his car right now.
11.
Okay.
Between
so
me and my wife.
about a
not
50-50.
bad.
Yeah. No, it's not bad.
I thought you had more than that.
But out of all those bikes, only 4 of them
Are used.
have been new.
Oh,
okay.
and the new. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most
so that's
of
more
them,
recent.
Which
Recently.
ones? None of the triathlon bikes were new,
Well,
right?
I can
bought
count your
one-
bikes for you.
I bought one new triathlon
What was it?
bike. It was a Quintana Roo.
Oh, okay. Did you like that bike?
You bought a
It was-
QR new.
I did. New. It was titanium.
Oh.
Titanium?
Yeah. It
QR
was-
is a titanium?
They did back in
They did. I was going to
2003.
say.
Yeah, they have some interesting bikes.
I wasn't even in the sport yet at that time. I think I'm.
Yeah, so I bought that new. But yeah, my the last 2 road frames I bought were new. I
Yep,
bought,
cyclocross bike.
Yep.
New.
What's
and
your
I bought a cyclocross bike new.
Gravel bike.
What's your
One gravel
What's your
bike new.
race road frame? I don't know. Is
It's
it-
the T Machine.
That's what I thought. It's
the
SLR1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought because I was thinking about. It. I was like, I'm pretty
BMC
sure
machine.
Lance has this, but I wasn't positive if you did.
And I've had the 2019 and the 2020.
Which one's better?
Well, they're the same.
Exactly the same.
Okay, gotcha.
I have the 2020 because I broke the 2019.
yeah.
I guess your
Very recently.
mountain bike was technically used.
It was
like,
used.
Like, what, 3
Oh, yeah.
times?
It was Jake's
That's
bike,
true.
and I bought it from him. Yeah, and like most of my cross bikes for the last 5 years, they were all used. I bought them all used except for I bought a new one almost at the end of the season this last
the
year.
Giant, yeah.
But yeah, I've almost always bought Brandy's road bike, bought it used. Brandy's cross gravel bike, I bought it used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people buying bikes right now. And I think come next spring, there's probably going to be a lot of people once, we don't have COVID stuff going on that maybe thought,
be selling them.
I'm not going to ever ride this bike. I got this thing new. I'm going to sell it. So there'll probably be a
Oh.
bunch of bikes that are going to be gems that'll come on the market because so many people are buying bikes. I hope they don't. I hope they stick to it. But that generally happens when there's a peak. There's always the people that go out and ride it less than a handful of times.
Yeah.
Sits in the garage, collects a little bit of dust, becomes a nice little garage ornament, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you know what? I'm going to sell this thing. It's taking up space, and it never really, took
like,
with me. So you
dang.
can find some good deals out there.
I need to be selling right now, don't
That's
I?
the thing about treadmills too, as we were always joking. is-
Treadmills. I know. There was a Woodway for sale in Camas, and I was like, ooh. I want
Oh
that.
yeah.
Treadmill.
Treadmills and bikes do seem to be that purchase that if you're a really savvy buyer right now,
You can get,
wait 1 year right now.
yeah.
Everybody just bought bikes.
Yep.
Everyone bought treadmills.
I
Everyone bought.
am slightly more pessimistic with human activity levels. We have a
It's
lot
like-
of lazy people over
It's
this
like
next year
the New
looking to
Year's,
sell that.
the New Year's gym rush where I'm like,
Exactly.
can't
Could you imagine
find
if
a
you
locker.
could
Can't even-
sell used gym memberships? You could just like
Jesus.
pass that on to somebody. How like that'd
February
be
1st.
littered over Craigslist.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, let's get back on topic here. So picking out a new bike, let's just kind of give some basics.
Wait, we there's still way more things to consider when buying new bikes.
Okay, well, throw some at us then.
Have you guys? We haven't even discussed how a bike looks. I honestly like. This is something that I think everyone kind of scoffs at. Oh, it doesn't matter how it doesn't. The color scheme doesn't matter. I'm not gonna ride that red bike, like whatever, it is, right? And so, I think it's baloney if we don't say, hey, like the way that the bike looks and whatever, way it looks with the particular race kit that you might happen to be using. Like I think it's something that all of us consider, even if we don't admit to considering it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How many times do you guys walk out in your garage and just stare at the new bike sitting out there? You're
It's
like,
like, that's a beautiful bike.
I don't want to go back inside the house, or maybe I'll take this inside the house with me.
Sure.
The color combo on the SLR1 coming in is so cool.
It's good looking. Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
the-
I think that
the, like
BMC.
black,
it's-
gray, and gold.
yeah, this BMC that I'm staring at here, it's a TT bike and it's
Oh, yeah.
blacked out, and I'm like, oh,
Matte
that's
black.
a good
It's
looking
incredible.
bike.
It is.
It's a good looking bike.
It inspires you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look at it and say, I'm not inspired to ride this
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to say is like a bat? Like, look at this Cannondale, I believe the like darker green, not the cool Cannondale green color. There's like a darker green right
Forest
there.
green, yeah.
Don't like it. I look at that and I'd be like,
Yeah.
no,
I
not
don't.
cool.
Yeah.
But I look at this BMC over here, this matte black. That's cool. I'm with you. Yeah.
I'm a matte black guy. I just
Yeah.
think it's. I like it.
looks sleek.
I like the look of it.
Would you
like,
ever ride like the main color being white, like you're specializing
Yeah,
in?
I don't love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my least favorite things about that bike. It was just it was
color
so
combo.
comfortable. At the bikes that I was looking at the time, I was like, this is the most comfortable. It was on super discounted price. It had good components. It was just like, this makes sense, even though I don't love the color, and I've regretted that decision.
That you didn't love the color.
You know what, though? A lot of times that's what you run into because, like, let's just use, again, BMC, for instance. So if you want to go and buy a bike based on how it's spec'd, you don't have
Right.
multiple frame options.
You're
it's
not
like
gonna choose
that's the
color.
color you get
Yep.
with that particular group set and that wheel set. you don't have another choice.
What's the reason for that in the bike industry that we've never gone with creative color options?
So they do. So a lot of bike companies have paint companies that they work with. Like Quantaroo, which we mentioned, now has custom paint on a lot of their stuff, and they do it all in Atlanta.
That's cool.
I think. And then Trek has their color thing. You can design your own bike and have it customized, but all that stuff costs extra for the most part. BMC, on the other hand, you buy a particular bike with a particular component set, and then you get a specific color set for that. Yeah. And I think some of it has to do with this particular carbon layup is used on certain of their high-end bikes. But I don't know if that is why the colors are a certain way, or if they just do different colors to distinguish different products.
Maybe BMC just thought we should spend more money on making sure people can put pressure to the handlebars, while Trek was like, we could make the handlebars stronger.
We could, but we're not going to.
But we got to have people paint their bikes the color that we want. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it just comes down to a cost thing. If you're only going to buy so many bikes, you don't want to have them on all different kinds of color mixes. And what if a color doesn't pop, or one of them really
doesn't sell at all?
Right. Yeah, just keep it simple that way. But they do give you the option, if you don't find a bike that's built the way that you want it, you can buy just the frame module. So you're going to get basically the frame, the fork, the bars, the stem, the seat post, and then you have, when you do that, you've probably got about 5 different options that you can choose from, but then you've got to go out and you've got to spec everything else, which is actually kind of fun. Like you get to pick the wheel set that you want, so you get to have the exact one that you want. You put the drivetrain on there that you want, and find a saddle that works best for you. Put it all together, and you get yourself a fancy new bike.
I think different colored chains should become more of a thing. There are different colored chains out there, but like that's never been something that's like really.
There's a gold chain out there. I don't know if they make them for the access stuff yet.
The
but
ice chains. Have you guys seen the ice chains?
No.
It's ice chains are like almost white. It's like looks white.
Oh, cool.
They're really cool. They're big in the TT world. They're really big.
That would last like 2 rides.
I'm pretty sure that's about how long it lasts.
If it's hot out, the ice chains don't do well. That's a dad joke.
So would you completely pass on a bike just because of the color?
Yes, I would now. I think
you would.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I literally haven't in the past, and I think now I would.
Yeah.
Because there's a ton of bikes out there. There's a ton of bikes. There's a ton of colors. I think, if there was some bike and I was like, I love this bike. I love everything about it except for the color. Then I would be like, you know what? I can afford to wait at this point in my life.
Yeah.
So
the first BMC that I got, the BMC Team Machine SLR1, was red.
Yeah.
We have an orange kit.
Yeah.
But when I first looked at it, I'm like, I don't really want red, but it had the build that I want. I'm like, I'll just ride it. And it grew on me. And I actually, I really did like the red frame. It just didn't go great with orange. But when I go back and look at some of the race pictures, it's kind of neat because it sticks out in the crowd.
Yep.
And it didn't look terrible with the orange. It wasn't perfect, but it kind of worked. It kind of grew on me. And after I rode that bike the first time, after I felt how well it performed, that bike, I was
color
like,
didn't matter.
I don't care what color this thing is. It could be pink with purple polka dots. I'm going to love this bike. That would be a cool bike, though.
I got so lucky with my first bike that the Allay that year was a blue. It was like a darker blue. And that was, so the team I rode on in Ohio was Gisalo Cycling.
Yeah.
Blue-white.
There you go.
It was kit not on purpose by any means. It was the most affordable aluminum bike that we were looking at that time, and it just somehow perfectly matched up with the team I joined.
Or here's another option. We've got a teammate. His name's Mike Hansen. Lance knows Mike.
Yep.
He lives down in the valley, but he is. The more I get to know him, the more like this guy knows everything, and he knows how to do everything. He's such a skilled, crafty, talented guy. He's been painting cars since he was a little kid, and we're not talking about just like your. Was it Les Schwab or who does Earl Scheib or whoever does these cheap paint jobs? Like he's doing like custom hot rods, and you look at these pictures, you're like, oh my god, you painted that? And he's like, yeah, I've been doing this forever. Well, he got himself a Time Machine road bike, and it was I think it was the Ultegra build, if I'm not mistaken. So it was kind of like this whitish, grayish kind of color. He's like, yeah, I liked it, but it was like kind of hard to keep clean. It's like the dirt didn't come off it the way that I wanted to. He tore his bike completely down. He went and got the paint. He painted this thing, and he used like his own decals. He made his own he spray painted on the decals. So long story short, it's now the stealth black, and
that's awesome.
No joke, it looks as good, if not better, than what BMC would send you from the factory. I was like, Mike, you painted that? He's like, yeah, because he brought it in because I mixed some adjustment for him. I'm like, you're kidding me? You painted this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, this is phenomenal. I mean, like you could do this as like a career, and like this is like just a hobby of his. I mean, the guy does everything, but it's just
I would
one
pay
of those other
someone.
things.
I would totally pay for something cool.
I would
like
for
a cool
sure pay
custom
him to do
something.
that. Yeah,
and honestly, like then I would get rid of the brand name. Like I don't need, like I don't need Specialized written across the side.
Matt Legrand on the down tube.
I don't know about that. But
Do it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the
if it's
internet.
going to be
Please
that,
do.
it's going to be the other Matt Legrand. The other
Yes.
guy. You support that guy, man.
So,
Just
but
kind of have like his little.
you do
his
have
little
that
rock on
option. There
yeah.
are a lot of people out there that will paint frames. If you're local and you know Mike, maybe you can give him a shout.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
good stuff. So cool. But really, just I think going back to this thing, circling back, is really got to figure out what it is that you want to do for the bike, and then just work with somebody. Go work with a shop to help you kind of get pointed in the right direction. Talk to some people like Matt and Evan and Lance who've had a million bikes and worked with a bunch of people and kind of know what to look for. If you're going to buy a used bike, it might not be a bad idea to get the seller to meet you at a bike shop just to have them do like a once over on the bike, because you don't want to buy a bike that's got, damage or issues or things that are going to be needing love and care down the road, because these things can start to add up. Bikes are not cheap. I mean, they've got bikes out there now that are well north of $12,000. That's a lot of money for a bike.
Yep.
You don't want to buy somebody else's problem. So I think your most common bike is going to be your Roubaix style bike, your endurance bike, if you will, like a BMC Road Machine or a Specialized Roubaix, or what's Cannondale's? Is that
It's not the
Evo
Slice,
or
the
something?
Slice is the TT.
Anyway, there's just those bikes out there that are going to be comfortable, that are going to be good for commuting, good for going out on a family ride. That's probably going to be your best all-around bike. But if you have any kind of competition in your blood and you want to maybe go out there and sometime play Strava or go join a bike race or do something along those lines, I think getting into a race bike sooner first is probably not necessarily a bad idea, because you can make those bikes fit pretty well. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Anything else out
agree.
there?
No, that's
Any
that's
little
good.
petty things that we need to look at? Oh, here's another one. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that are now making bikes that are quote unquote women's bikes. What do you guys know about the difference between a women's bike, their bike and we'll call it a gender neutral or
Sure. I
non-gender
wonder
bike?
I don't know that much about it. I would wonder if the geometry is slightly different, but I think that for sure some of the paint schemes that they use are different, and I think they look cool. Like I'm thinking of the Liv brand that's like a giant.
Liv is the one I think most
And
people think of.
they are very popular. I think they're doing well because I've seen a lot of those bikes out and about. That doesn't necessarily mean that the company's doing well with that particular brand, but that's the way it appears to me. And I think that they look cool, and I think a lot of women prefer the style.
So for a lot of women out there who might be thinking about getting a bike, you don't necessarily need to get a quote-unquote women's bike.
Right.
It's not men's bike and women's bike. It's not like one's built for the other. But there are little nuances that generally you need to take a look at when you're looking at a women's bike versus a men's bike. They will come with usually a little bit narrower of a handlebar, which is good because they're not going to be quite as broad as the guys. They're going to come with a different saddle because we're shaped differently down in that region. And then the geometry really isn't that far off. It's usually just those two touch points that are going to be different. Now, sometimes in the top tube, and generally the women are going to be a little bit shorter, so they're going to need a little bit smaller bike. So the smaller bikes are still going to have a sloped down tube a little bit, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
But they might have a little bit, what it seems like a down tube that's a little bit sloped more for them to get on and off a little bit easier. A lot of times, though, that's going to happen anyway if you're going to get into a smaller frame bike. So
Specialized does women's specific bikes too, right?
I believe so.
I think they do. Yeah.
Cannondale does. I know.
Cannondale does?
Yeah,
Okay.
and Giant is
the big
Liv.
one,
So there's a bunch of them out there that make that, and they make some color paint schemes like you guys mentioned that women tend to dig on.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
There's not a huge difference though, other than that. So if you're a woman and you like a bike that's going to be a quote unquote men's bike, it's not necessarily a men's bike. It's called a unisex bike.
Yeah.
You can definitely go that route, and it's really just the saddle and the bars that are easily changed.
Right.
How,
Yeah.
if
we
you
should,
wanted to,
we should describe it as up until now, almost everyone has always worn, they've just been unisex bikes. This is a very new thing, this women's specific thing, and it's largely marketing.
I would say, because really to me, the three most important things, just from like even a bike fitting point of view, is the saddle is going to be a little bit different. I don't think as significantly different as people think it is, because I know a lot of women who put in a ton of miles on bikes, and their quote unquote women specific saddles they thought were incredibly uncomfortable, and they would get onto like the power saddle, for instance, from Specialized.
Yeah.
And which you could argue was a unisex marketed saddle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they loved them. And it's not that there's, I think it's that, and like Jake mentioned, the handlebars generally, just because women are generally, there's going to be a population of women who probably want that wider, handlebar set, but a little bit more narrow. And I would argue also maybe looking at crank length, just because men are generally taller, so we can get onto maybe a smaller frame and still have that 172.5 crank length. Maybe if you're a woman with a shorter inseam than a man, you would want to look at maybe the same bike frame, but maybe going down to a 165 crank or something like that.
Yeah, possibly.
Would be the only three things I say would be major difference.
Yep. Cool. Anything else on that one?
I've got other things that we should consider as far as bike purchases.
Throw it out there.
Maintenance.
Yep.
You get these. So what's most important is triathlon talk. And triathlon
we
bikes.
We were just talking about this before.
Triathlon bikes are built in a certain way where they are designed to be aerodynamic. They are not designed to be mechanically friendly.
No, they are a pain in the
butt to work on.
Yeah, the designers, they hate mechanics.
The front brakes for just all triathlon bikes now are. I mean, I remember
trying
my
to hide
old
the brakes.
Shiv. I used to have to take off the bottom bracket to work on the rear brake.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you just want to make one small adjustment. You're like, all right, this is gonna be a day-long project now. If you're not like really, really handy.
And so I think that there's some real value to having a bike that you can take care of with an Allen wrench.
Yeah.
And there are bikes out there that you can do the whole thing with an Allen wrench. And
Isn't that the QR claim? Is that QR says you can, with a 5, basically work on everything?
Yeah, you can do everything. And I think there's real value to that people don't value. That's too many values. But my point is that I think it's one thing that people are overlooking when they're purchasing bikes, and they shouldn't. Another thing that I think people should consider when making a bike purchase is the reputation of the brand. And, you don't want to buy from some Chinese company like Trek, that just makes faulty. Oh wait, they're based in Wisconsin.
Oh, that's an American company. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay.
But no, seriously, there is the opportunity for you to buy a Chinese no-name brand, especially you see that with wheels a lot.
Yep.
But you can buy frames too, and some of them are good. There's no denying that some of those are fine. There's no recourse if they're not fine, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing is that some of them aren't fine.
If
so that's like I'd rather not flip a coin on a descent. So that's,
if the handlebars break when you're going downhill and you
just
break
because you didn't read the manual that Trek sends out that says don't put pressure on the handlebars.
Don't use the handlebars,
which is really Matt's fault. But
but the point is if you buy from a company like BMC, I'm saying BMC because it's right in front of me. BMC, you'd think Trek would be there, but other companies too, like Specialized or decent sized companies, usually they'll have some sort of guarantee or some sort of insurance of like this frame is if something happens in the first year, or they have some crash replacement programs for a lot of companies. There's some really nice programs that I tend to see on the major manufacturers of bikes. So there's something to be said for the brand name and giving value to that. I don't know if it's like 100% of what you should, your decision-making purchase, but definitely add value there for that.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that if you buy a brand and there's not a shop that supports that brand nearby, that could be a really big hassle to work with that. So
if you have to drive 2 hours to have any help.
Or if you buy a bike online from a manufacturer that doesn't even have stores and it's all just direct to consumer.
Right.
That could be a little bit difficult because sometimes those bike parts are proprietary and you have to wait for a long time for it to come from a different country.
Or the parts are, you're like, this part's never going to be available. 'Cause like Canyon, for example. Canyon does really cool bikes. I think their bikes are very interesting. I think they do a good job with designs, and I think they're fast bikes.
Very fast.
But, you're talking about
all proprietary parts.
Proprietary parts.
So
and
is the BMC time
always
machine.
sold out of everything, and so it's like tricky.
Yeah. Versus if there's a shop that's local that deals with that bike all the time, chances are if you need some little grommet or doohickey thingamajig, call up and say, hey, I need this. And they're like, oh, yeah, come on down. I got you. So, done that before. Good. Those are all really good points.
We didn't talk about components at all. Like, people should consider their components when they're buying a bike.
Yeah.
Slightly important.
So,
like components and wheels could be a whole other podcast.
Let's just use Shimano, for instance. So, there's a really good all-around, going to do everything, shifts really nicely, works great. 105. That's like a really good, solid workhorse, like kind of the bottom tier of like, we'll call it like your race ready or your high usage ready componentry. Super affordable, great stuff. And then you want to jump up to the next tier, Ultegra.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Probably twice the cost, if not more. the biggest difference between them, materials and weight.
Yeah.
And, you're going to have about the same wear, the same life, but it's going to be a lot lighter.
I think it's very hard to argue against 105 stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really good, and I think they've been
And it lasts a quarter century.
solid.
That stuff lasts so long.
And it's not very expensive to replace. I mean, if you're going to
Yeah.
get a 105 cassette,
Yeah.
not very expensive. If you wanted to have a different cassette for climbing, if you will, or if you go down and you destroy a shifter, it's not going to cost you, an arm and a leg and your firstborn to replace. So,
Right.
And then you want to go from Ultegra to the top shelf Dura Ace stuff.
Yeah.
You're literally paying twice as much to save how many grams?
A couple hundred grams.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it's like 300 or 400 grams for the group set. For your weight weenies out there, they're going to want that. For the guys that want to be super light for climbing purposes, when watts per kilogram are going to be the name of the game, you've got to think about doing that.
I would love to see if somebody's lost a race because of 300 grams.
Well, I'm sure at the climbing
300
stuff.
grams, though.
Climbing. I mean, those guys. Like, let's say you're doing Alpe d'Huez, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like,
But the other thing I think with
gotta be over
components
10% for it to
would
be that
be currently, and this is the problem with recording a podcast. Currently, the 105 components come in mechanical only and not electronic shifting. And so, is that right?
They're going. Well, I think
that's going to change.
Rumors are that they're going to have it trickle down to the 105 group set. Don't quote me on that, but yeah,
that's the problem with recording podcasts. But
yeah,
but I think there's real value in having an electronic shifting bike.
Definitely.
So, and what's that value, Matt? Why would you want electronic shifting? A lot of people come in here and say, "Why would I want that? That sounds gimmicky."
I think it's a more precise shift every time.
Yep.
However, when people come and say, why would I want that? I've been using mechanical forever. Good on you. Keep doing it. Mechanical's great. There's major benefits to mechanical. Like, it's so easy to just kind of like fix something if something goes wrong on the road. Versus electronic, if something goes wrong on the road, you're, better hope that you have an extra battery, or better hope that, this, whatever it is, right? Like, it's just weird if something goes wrong on the road with.
I had a shifter snap once, though, the cable, so you're kind of screwed when that
you
happens.
Have,
but
it does, but you can kind of like,
you can finagle stuff.
You can do stuff that I feel like with mechanical you can hack it more.
Yeah, you have
definitely.
Like, if I'm going to be out touring in the middle of nowhere, and maybe it's a multi-day thing, I mean, I'm probably going to want to go mechanical. So what if something goes wrong electronically? You can't MacGyver that on the spot. I mean,
can't charge it in the middle of nowhere. Yeah,
MacGyver it. That's the right term.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
that is the right term.
With cabling,
that's pretty rare.
It is. That's the nice thing, is the electronic doesn't have that many issues.
Yeah.
I mean, you've run out of batteries on rides. I've seen you do it.
Yeah.
But you went to a shop in California and found an extra battery.
They gave me a battery.
It's just swapped you. Yeah,
They swapped me. I gave them the dead one. They
Yeah.
gave me a charged one.
And you were good to go.
Yeah.
Back on the road. And so I think that there's issues. You would never run out of batteries with your mechanical group set.
It's a good thing for bike shops, basically.
Okay, so around the table, we all have electronic shifting.
We all prefer. All of us have both, probably.
So I've been running it since 2011. So that's 9 years. I've only had one problem. I had a derailleur take a crap on me. It died, and it was a Dura-Ace, and it was within their 3-year window. I sent it to them, and they sent me a brand new one back. It was about a 1-week turnaround, harmless.
Yeah,
that was the only issue I've really had. The only other issue that I had was with Shimano. I was using the app on the phone. I was doing a firmware update, and I got a text message, and it broke the firmware. It literally broke the firmware. And nowhere in their literature does it say you need to put your phone on airplane mode. Or just don't use the Bluetooth function on there when you're doing that. You need to plug it into the computer. So I ended up having to roll. I had to go to another bike shop at the time and have them plug it into their system and have them do a hardwire. Because that's the other thing is with the Dura-Ace Shimano Di2 stuff and the Ultegra Di2 stuff, you don't have the option to plug it into a Mac. It doesn't work with Mac. It only works with PC. And I'm not running Boot Camp, and I wasn't able to run their program, and I wasn't able to plug in my phone.
That's been the case for like 10 years. I don't understand how they haven't taken the next step.
I don't know.
Come on, Shimano.
And they haven't even answered the access thing yet. I mean, SRAM came out with the SRAM Access 12-speed stuff and knocked it out of the park. I think that's the best group set for the Red and the Force. Those two things are phenomenal. And the fact that everything's starting to work on all of the different platforms and parts and pieces are becoming more and more interchangeable, and it's so much easier to work on and to bleed. And I could go on for days about how much better it is. And it's been over a year since that came out. Shimano still hasn't come. They came out with their GRX group set for the gravel stuff.
Just like last week, right?
No, it came out about a year ago.
There's a new. There might be a new TRX something that came out this week.
Might
We
have
can look.
something.
But I don't know. If you're going to buy something, I think SRAM's the way to go. It's a little bit more expensive, I think, possibly, or I don't know. It's better.
I love the fact that there's no cables. There's no wires, no cables with the SRAM.
Yep.
Yeah.
Less things to go wrong.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of anybody, and I've been dealing with the ETAP stuff ever since it came out. I don't know of anybody yet, still to this day, that's had a connectivity issue, other than one person.
I had a rear derailleur crap out.
Did you?
Yeah, we had to swap it out.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Carroll had an issue with one of his too. But again, when I said that Shimano got me the rear derailleurs in less than a week, I think SRAM got them to me in just like a matter of like 2 or 3 days. Yeah. They're Johnny on the spot. We've rambled on a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, the point of that was that if you're buying a bike, components are a big part of the purchase process.
Yes.
It's something you should consider. And, if you're new to buying bikes, I think 105 is an excellent place to start looking. When you start getting below that, it seems sketchy to me. Not
Tiagra or
yeah.
That starts to get a little flimsy. It works though. I mean,
yeah, it works. I don't know that much about it, to be honest. So
I think it's good for the person who's kind of like an enthusiast that maybe rides 10 to 20 times a year, like maybe like once or twice a month kind of person. But if you're out in your training and you find yourself logging Strava rides pretty frequently, find that 105 stuff. It's going to last longer for you, and it's going to perform better for you as well. True. Get SRAM though.
That's a big difference in price. Although SRAM has some
they've got some lower stuff.
components too.
Yeah, you can definitely get
SRAM stuff better.
Just everybody get access. It's awesome.
Yeah, your wheel set's going to be another one that's easily changed out over the course of time. And what's nice about that is if you have an inexpensive set of wheels on there in the beginning, that ends up being a really good rain bike, or like if you can go out and ride some crappy roads and you don't really mind about those wheels as much, save your race wheels for another day.
The nice thing I will say about that is going back to what my brother had was if you get something in that kind of 10 speed, 11 speed, 12 speed range, then it's easier to switch out wheels. When you get a different there's a difference in hubs between 11 and 10 speed, but my point is it gets hard to find things that are older. It's hard to find a nice race wheel with 9-speed hub. I mean, you can change out the hub, but that's a process.
Especially if you're buying used, just buy 11 right now.
Yeah,
I think 9 or 10 I think would be a bet. If anybody showed me like, hey, this is this used bike, should I get this? It's 9 or 10 speed.
Here's my question mark right there.
Exactly.
It's the 9 for sure. 10 speed. Still a lot of people selling 10 speed stuff. So
it's few and far between.
Stay away from it.
I think 11 is the.
I would just 11's stay away from it now.
Yeah, that's kind of where everybody's at, and I think everybody's gonna be switching
to
maybe 12.
12. I was gonna say in 10 years maybe be.
Rotor's already got 13 speed.
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a climb up a side of a wall basically at some point.
All right, that was fun. Let's jump into one last thing. Evan, one last thing.
If anybody has any like nutrition suggestions on how to do an Everest, ping them my way, please.
There's a lot of people that are experienced Everest people.
I was gonna say if you happen to have nailed recently an Everest climb,
you know what you could do
tell me what to do nutrition wise.
Leave nutrition at the bottom of the hill because I mean you don't want to climb with it that much.
Exactly.
Probably just when you want to grab something and then take it up because you want to go lightweight. You probably want to. You could do water bottles the same way.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sure people do this.
Sushi and beer.
I'm gonna. There you go. Yeah. I'm thinking about using Martine, the what Kipchoge used for the sub 2 hour.
Whatever you do, make sure
David's been using it lately and he likes it.
Yeah, make sure it's brand new on race day.
I was thinking about not trying it until the morning and then just a surprise bag.
And then sushi. We'll buy the sushi now so it's ready for you.
It's like salami sandwiches and lasagna. This is perfect.
Some chili. Chili would be good too. Extra
beans.
Just
take a spoon at the bottom. You can just be holding the cauldron at the bottom.
It's got a lot of sodium in there.
There you go. That'd be perfect. That and beer.
Awesome. Matt, one last thing.
I posted 2 videos.
2 videos.
And actually posted 2 videos in 2 days. I never do that. The first one was this heart rate monitor that I really like. It's an optical heart rate monitor called the OH1 Plus from Polar.
Cool.
It's excellent. Competitors would be stuff like the Wahoo Ticker, I think, they have an optical.
The Ticker Fit.
The Ticker Fit, yes, thank you. And then also Garmin might make ones. No, Garmin. I don't know if Garmin makes one.
They don't make the small one. They just
Garmin
have
There's another company There's another company that makes something similar. Anyway, this one has onboard storage, so you can swim with it, you can bike with it, you can run with it. All the things that I like to do, and it's a nice device. I am giving it away to whoever comments, on the video, something funny. So go in there, hop in there, comment, and you might win the Polar OH1 Plus.
How funny does the comment need to be?
It needs to be hilarious.
It needs to be okay.
Actually, I think the question that I asked
is there an objective measure on what's funny?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the question that I asked is like, what sport would you use this for? Because you can use it for anything, right? You can jazzercise it up. But
yeah, buddy.
Tonk replied, I would use this for some of the exercise that I have that goes off books or something. He said something alluding to sex with his. I don't know. The winner.
So that's an lead. That's what I have to beat.
That's what you have to beat.
Okay, got it. I'm going to brainstorm tonight.
Yep. Think about that. And I thought that was perfect. And that is the second video that I posted the day after was the fact that Kona is going to be postponed until February. So this is normally an October race, and it's been an October race since
ever.
No, we're going to say 50 years. I mean, a long time. I think like 1980, basically.
Yeah.
Is, that time frame. So it's been there a long time, and this will be the first time it's back in February since the first one. So,
do you know what the next news is going to be?
It's canceled.
Kona.
Canceled.
Back to October.
Yeah, exactly.
2021.
So people that qualified can like move their stuff to February, or they can push it all the way to October, which I think everyone's going to do.
Which should just be what you do because it's not going to happen in February. I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So everyone's going to do that, and then no one's going to show up in February. So I think they're taking like all the legacy athletes and they're letting them do February, something like that. It's a rumor. Yeah. And those are the two videos that I posted. You should check them out, watch them, subscribe them,
people at the
like them.
But I don't know where to go to watch these.
You go on the YouTube and you look for
YouTube.
You look for Matt LeGrand.
All right.
And you subscribe to the guy that dances on the beach, but then you also subscribe to me.
right after that.
Yeah, right after that, the important stuff. Yeah, it's youtube.com/mlegrand, MLEGRAND. You can find me there, and you can check it all out.
Yep.
Cool. Lance.
I watched Matt's 2 YouTube videos and was entertained.
Really? The Kona one?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I still need
Triathlon
to watch
takeover.
that.
Lance watches all of Kona. If anybody wants to rewind this to last year, we were talking about this. Lance
Yeah, I know.
unabashedly
He
sat
watched.
there and
So
was
I
embarrassed
watched-
to admit that he watched the entire Kona race.
That's a true story.
Yeah,
It is.
And we're gonna have to do our triathlon takeover, and it's not
We
gonna be in
will.
October. It's gonna have to be in February.
I say we just do it in October anyway.
Sure.
Just to
Okay.
pretend. We'll be like, here's our predictions for the race that's not happening today.
Yeah, let's do it.
Keep talking.
Lance,
Taking
one
all
last
this-
thing, bud.
KOM. That's all I got.
Nothing?
No.
That's exciting.
What's one KOM you want to get this week?
Yours. Because you only have one.
Do I only have one?
You know it too. You know way more than he does.
Don't do that to
We
me,
know
man.
exactly which one it is.
What is it? I don't know
good?
what it is. It was probably when I was on Jake's wheel that once. What was it?
No, you were on somebody else's wheel.
You
but
were
I
on
think you
somebody
came
else's
around.
wheel.
Whose wheel was I on?
You're actually tied with a woman on it.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Is it Kim? Am I tied with Kim?
No.
Kim's, yeah.
No.
Kentucky Hustle.
It was.
Anik.
Yeah, you have a KOM on a segment is part of.
I have the Vantucky Hustle camera?
No.
There's just
Oh,
a
one segment.
Oh, gotcha. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Mike still has that, or Dustin does, or something. Yeah.
So you guys are
I was
plotting.
there that day when that happened, and it was incredible.
We're coming for you, chicken and waffles.
God dang it. Okay.
Is that the name of it?
Yes,
Chicken
sir.
and waffles. All right, I'm
and
excited to watch
waffles.
this go down.
I have to
I
get
can't believe you
another
guys
one
took
before I
mine.
lose this one.
You actually still have 2 KOMs back in Ohio, but I'm not.
Those count. Nope, those count.
I'm
Yep.
not going there.
Nope, those are set in stone forever.
We're going to fly back there as soon
Hey
as they let
Lance,
us.
I have a
Please do.
whole bunch of running ones. So
Yeah.
you
I
go after
do-
those.
I know,
buddy.
I'm
yes,
not
yeah.
going after those.
Go over those. Those are,
That's not
flag
and they're all
everyone that Lance
easy
does.
too. They're all.
No, it's like 450.
No, I
pace.
don't think they are. I
You
think
and
they're
4
easy.
other guys.
Yeah.
My one last thing is I want to know when you guys are going to go and try and take
TTO.
back the what's
Washington
it called?
Large, or-
What's the name of the segment that we just
Oh,
took? It
the-
needs
yeah.
a better
Oh,
name.
it's something like
fourth plane to
fourth plane.
plane.
Fourth plane. Yeah.
Can we
Did one of
rename
you
it
guys
something awesome?
Did one of you guys
Yeah.
make that segment?
No.
No.
It
Okay.
existed long before us.
That's my other one. The last thing. Make better names for segments. Don't
Oh, I agree. I completely
call them
agree.
something funny because it makes
Yeah.
people want to go out and do them. I don't know.
I know. It's like, the climbs, I can understand you calling a climb what the climb is, but like, yeah.
What was the waffle? And what was the one?
Chicken and
Chicken and
waffles.
waffles. That's
That's
good.
awesome.
And I got one
Yeah.
yesterday called Tater Tots.
Yeah.
I like that.
Matt's favorite road is still my favorite name on Strava, so.
Okay.
I made those Matt's favorite. North,
I
West,
actually
South.
named chicken and waffles.
Did you name that?
I
Did
did
you?
that, but
That's a
like
good one.
2 or 3 years ago.
I like the name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you probably saw chickens
I don't,
and you thought and you're dreaming about waffles.
I don't remember, but I thought it was funny, so I called it chicken and waffles. And there's
like
chickens out there
Yeah,
because it is
probably.
farmland.
I want to know when you guys are going to go take that back. When are we going to have
I,
a little
Okay.
I need
I'm
a
gonna-
TT
shots were fired?
I need a TT bike.
shot across
Yeah.
your boat?
Yeah.
One of those or an e-bike. What are we gonna?
Do you want to e-bike base me on that?
You guys both have road bikes. Why don't you just make it a road bike thing?
Because
We
we're
could make it a
triathletes.
We could.
We're proud
Proud
triathletes.
triathletes.
Lance, we're going to have to get some aero bars to put them on our bikes.
Yeah, you do. You need aero bars all
No,
the time.
I'm doing it without aero bars.
How about
I
a
just need
TT
three
helmet,
more buddies.
Lance?
No.
I can let you borrow one.
You do know if I'm jumping on the TT bike to do this, I'm going race kit, arrow helmet.
Oh, yeah.
tucking
No, we're
in,
going
and
all
I'm
in.
pushing. I am going to be puking by the end of that because I do not want Jake coming back and touching that on a road bike because I will be so embarrassed if that thing gets taken on a road bike again.
All we need is
Wait
three
and
more
see.
guys. we would take it.
Yeah, more guys.
I swear if there's like a 20-person group ride that takes that.
It's gonna happen.
We're waiting.
All right. Okay.
waiting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be a little while, probably. Right?
I'll do it before the Everest attempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yep.
maybe we'll have to push the time up a little bit more.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Push as far as you need. Push as far as you need to feel safe.
All right, guys, this is getting really long.
This is.
Jerry's sitting in his car in his garage going, why won't they just shut up? I need to go inside. My wife's going to kill me.
Well, he complained once when we went short, so this is just making up for that. So.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate everybody listening. We thank Terry Hamness again for being a Patreon. And again, if you want to go check that out, go to dialpodcast.com to become a Patreon to help out the show. Go check out Matt's YouTube channel. Check out Evan if you need some physical therapy stuff. And if you need some funny titles, go check out Lance on Strava.
Yeah, totally.
We really thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye for now.